teams in our next round of 16.
This unlikely band of players toppled the seasoned teams of North America to secure their ticket to Kiev. Picked up by Digital Chaos and housing the Meepo King Abed, as well as the legendary Mason, this squad could quickly become a fan favorite. Led by Bulba and Dubu, they are about to face their greatest test yet, right in their LAN debut. Welcome on stage, Digital Chaos. The formation of this team revived the careers of 4 TI silver medalists, and the young talent Freeze was the finishing touch to this superb roster. Packed with experience, captained by ROTK, and supported by deadly duo FY and Fenrir, they stunned the world at Star Series I-League and brought down giants. Welcome on stage, VGJ.
VGJ then versus DC, just a few minutes away from their first draft as the gentlemen will shake hands, exchange their final pleasantries before doing battle. One man in particular is looking forward to this one. It is the legendary FY, and he caught up with Shiva before we entered into the round of 16.
Hello FY, good morning. How are you doing today?
就今天放假日嘛，然后就被拉起来采访了，感觉可能待会要回去再睡一会。
So you're back to playing with Fenrir. What's that like for you? How does it feel?
来了 VGJ 之后，跟芬尼尔还是那样的感觉吧，就是和以前一样。然后他也算一个性格比较好的人，跟他相处也不会感觉很难。
What makes you two fit so well together? That makes it work?
可能是因为打法比较相似吧。然后性格也都还可以，就可以相处的比较好。我觉得如果你想打得好的话，现实中肯定要关系好一点。
At the moment, your team has 4 veteran players and 1 new kid on the block. Is that the perfect balance for a Dota 2 team at the moment?
我觉得我也不算老将吧，因为我觉得我挺年轻的。4老带1新，按理说应该是最科学的一种方法。就是队里会比较统一，然后想法也都比较靠拢，然后新人只负责打好自己的，他也不用去指挥啊，或者说去要带领团队这种，他就负责听话就可以了。
Where did Freeze come from? Where was he found?
从eHome L 吧，eHome。
Now we know that you are a team player. And in the past, you also were a team player, not only in Dota, but also for football. Can you talk to us a little bit about your period when you were playing high-tier football?
我记得以前小时候，大概小学到初中的时候是参加过我们安徽省的比赛，就是中国安徽省。然后当时就感觉别的城市人都人高马大的，但是感觉自己很矮小，但也不知道他们是虚构的年龄还是或者说怎么样，反正就是感觉踢起来很无力。后来就慢慢感觉自己想放弃这个足球一样，就安心的去玩 DOTA 了。然后初中、高中打篮球这样，就足球可能只是一种回忆吧，然后也没有去认真去踢或者怎么样，但小时候确实喜欢过。
Yeah, and you are a competitive player also outside of Dota. That really shows with that. It seems to happen a lot where someone who is competitive outside of the game then at some point finds Dota and grows into a competitive player there. For example, Chuan is an example of that. Why do you think that is?
可能这种人比较喜欢团队合作啊，或者说这种类型的东西吧，就是从小就知道怎么跟别人合作，然后去赢得胜利。
What was your position when you were playing football?
中锋或者边锋。
All right, so not that much of a support player, more on the aggression there?
按理说是的吧，但是我觉得也挺重要的吧，辅助在 DOTA 里面。然后足球是每个位置都非常重要，跟 DOTA 一样。
So you live and train together with your team in a team house? What's that like for you?
跟我当初打职业的时候一样吧，在中国队都是一样，在一个基地里面训练。可能现在的环境会比以前好很多吧，然后还是那样吧，就是训练，然后大家都很懒，就只训练而已，也不出去做其他项目什么的。
Well, it's not that popular in, for example, the Western scene to have a team house like that. Why do you think that is such a big difference there?
我也不知道，可能外国人比较重要，不是，就是外国的选手会比较重视个人空间吧，然后中国选手就是看上去很努力，但是可能自己没有一些个人空间，就是5个人一直在一起，可能会矛盾会多一点，然后但是会比赛前会比较团结，就是个人空间会少一点吧，我觉得。
Okay, that makes sense. Does your training schedule change a lot coming up to a major or a massive event?
就是以前可能会放假几天，或者说训练一天就2个 BO3 这样，2个 BO2 这样。但是集训拳一般都是一天2点、4点和7点有3个 BO2，然后大家也都比较积极去看录像啊，或者说讨论这些东西，就有个明显的变化，相比于平时不打比赛的时候。
What is the craziest practice schedule you've ever had?
可能就是 TS 吧，当时 TS，那时候每天早上会起来训练，我们一般都是下午2点钟开始训练，就 TS 之前那时候会早上10点钟接个 BO5这样，对，我记得是这样，然后也和中国队就和一个队疯狂训练很多次，当时感觉挺累的，就是每天要早上起很早，然后晚上睡得很晚，对。
Now you've played a lot of Dota 2, different patches, different metas. What do you think about the current state, the Dota that we're playing right here at the Kiev Major?
我觉得现在这个版本野区的资源很重要，对，就是因为刷野机制和线上钱的减少，我觉得野区的钱很重要，然后怎么样利用野区的资源，然后前期的对面的防御塔也很重要。你如果能很早拔到对面一个防御塔，你会有很多打进空间。然后这个版本团战也很重要吧？对，就是反正抱团推进是不太行的。
Well, thank you very much for your insight. Good luck at the main event, and hopefully we're going to see a lot more of VGJ.
Thank you.
kind of feeling, I guess, his own team going up against an American team.
Right.
He's definitely going to cheer for VGJ. Let's be real.
Of course he is. It's his own team. He's allowed to do that. I mean, it's a legendary pair, isn't it? This support duo, but it's also 4 legends in the same team.
Yep. 4 TI runner-ups, 3 on the same team, 1 from CDC and Aggressive, and a lot of experience outside of their mid player, but I think that's a pretty good formula. You know, you have that youngster, you pick him up from one of the kind of tier 2 academy teams, build him up and kind of play around him, and VGJ have kind of had mixed success. Like, they had a good style at it since then. It's been a bit shaky, though. But all in all, this is a team who they have the right pieces kind of be successful.
Yeah, and Freeze in there as well. There's this tendency. It started in the West with players like Miracle and Anna and what have you, picking up these kind of pub stars, putting them in, throwing them around, an experienced bunch of guys. And now China are doing something very similar. SEC obviously with Newbie and Freeze here with VGJ.
Right, and I mean, if you look at the other side, DC are also the same. Like, they got Abed, and maybe they don't have as much success as, you know, getting to the grand finals of an international. They still have Boba, Dubu, who last year placed in many tournaments, especially the majors, and even TI very highly. Mason, who's got top 3 at a TI before. You got Demon, who placed in top 8 at TI last year. Like, you got all these very experienced players surrounding Abed. Same with the other side. So it's sort of like a mirror match.
Kind of, but I would say, well, mirror match and how the setups work, but I'd say very different in terms of the caliber of the mids. I actually think Freeze is one of the weaker mid players in this tournament. He dies way more than we're seeing other mids do. I think he's perhaps a liability for VGJ, whereas Abed has been like the star player of DC. I mean, as he's meant to be as the mid role.
How do you assess this VGJ team? Bunch of old timers past their sell by date, or legends that are bringing back to the fore and going to have another crack at TI?
I didn't rate them very highly going into the tournament, and their group stage performance was about where I expected them to be. And I'm like, man, I don't really think they stand a chance against DC. And then I listened to their lineup, and I was like, man, FY, Fenrir, Aggressive. I was like, I mean, they could definitely win this.
ROTK on land, like,
yeah.
I would never underestimate VGJ or any of the players on that team. Like, if you remember TI5, VG, they were like lower bracket. That's where they started, and they ended up top 4 in that tournament. And they had FY and Fenrir on the same team. Same, if you look at all the other tournaments that VG has ever played in, they have come from the lower bracket and surprised teams many times. They're just like these seasoned veteran players, and they know how to handle the pressure. They understand the enemy is just as pressured as they are. So they turn that around and pull ahead most of the time.
Yeah. Let's take a look at DC. Obviously, they were Team Onyx through the qualifiers. Surprised many, actually, with their lower bracket run gods through that tournament. Weren't necessarily favourites to come through. There were 2 other teams in the qualifiers in North America that potentially everyone else had on their radar as the 2 strongest teams. That was MP and Complexity, and yet here they are. And now under a new branding under DC, with some great players, lots of experience in there, and with this one guy who's on fire from the group stages.
This was a team that took longer kind of to come to fruition. Like, they formed quite a while ago. They never quite got the results like that MP Complexity were having. But they stuck together. They kept grinding it out. And I think, to me, Dubu is the kind of the captain, really pulled them together and like kind of found a clear direction for them. And I feel like it really was like they grinded their way to get to where they are now. Like, they didn't just have instant success like some of the other like newly formed teams do, but they worked on it, and they managed to make it to this major and do it phenomenally well.
Obviously, they took your supposed spot in trying to get here.
Right.
How did you find them in that qualifier?
Looking back on our practice and whatever, they were extremely strong. I think they were the team that developed the fastest during the tournament.
Right.
And when that normally happens, it's very hard to beat them. Like, if you remember at DAC qualifiers in NA, I don't know if you watched it or not, but DC were like that. They were very dominant, but they lost to Team MP in the finals because they just learned something about the patch overnight.
Right.
And that happens with DC as well. They have these players who think about these things. They look at stats, they look at some strategies, and they're going to maybe even be a completely different team the next day.
Okay, so take a look at the featured matchup in this particular case. I don't think we can go anywhere other than mid. I know we've featured mid an awful lot at this tournament, but there've also been numerous top mid players in this tournament. We're blessed with how many we've got. Ben, how do you see this matchup?
Abed definitely has more experience. He was on Execration. We've heard of him before, and before this team even. And I just figured out that Freeze was on eHome Luminous, whatever team that is. I don't know if is that their like second, third, fourth team. Who knows?
Second or third junior team, I think.
He was pretty good at Star Series, which they came in second. His Storm in particular was very good. His Ember was very good, but his other heroes are just decent, I would say. And he has a lot of I find him like in the wrong place at the wrong time, a lot more so than the other mids.
Is it fair to say, guys, that maybe Freeze is in Abed's position from 12 months ago, where he hasn't maybe got that much experience, hasn't been to the big tournament so far, and doesn't have that deeper hero pool? Because Abed's come on leaps and bounds in the last 12 months.
He has. I think Abed's... I don't think Abed's got that much more experience than them, though. Like, I mean, he had that run with Execration, but that was still just playing wildcards at TI.
Sure.
That wasn't, like, actually competing, like, against the top teams in the world at the Major or TI itself. So I'd say Abed's experience is still... After that, like, he joined this team here in DC and took a long time to get to a Major. So I think Abed's still almost just as inexperienced, if maybe not more, a little more so in some ways.
What do you mean he doesn't play against experienced teams? He plays NA all the time.
Thank you, Fred.
You don't have to look at experience
Nah.
as like a form of just playing against other teams. You can look at it just like knowledge, right? You look at his team. They have Dubu, who played in Southeast Asia, and he's played in China in big tournaments. Boba, who was a coach of many big teams, Liquid, EG, and he's played in multiple other tournaments. So these guys, they like share their knowledge with each other, and you can develop as a player just through that. So you don't really need to like play all around the world just to be a good player or like have experience.
I think a big difference is Abed himself is like a very smart player. He used to be the captain and drafter for Execration, so he was already a guy that had a very good understanding of the game, whereas VGJ is kind of just a mid player taking orders from his captain. Like, he's playing with 4 veterans, and I think culturally it's very different in China, where a new young player joining the team is going to have to follow the direction of the big captains. That was always been the case. That was a big problem with maybe when he played on Zhao 8. He didn't like that system, so he went and made his own team, but most of the teams have this kind of clear hierarchy where the veterans, these experienced players, kind of control things, and that's the system that Freeze finds themselves in, whereas Abed has always had a lot of freedom and independence himself as a player.
Very interesting contrast between the two teams. We're hearing that DC are just about ready to join the lobby, but aren't quite there yet. So instead, why don't we take a couple of social media questions from our Facebook posts that you've been making throughout the day. First one is, how are Dota 2 teams so culturally diverse compared to other esports? That's quite a good question. Comes from Porkis Gods.
Yeah, I mean, you look at some of these teams like Liquid. They've got 5 different nationalities. EG has been the case. I think because so much of it is at least used to always be played online. It was just everyone would play from their homes.
Absolutely.
Outside of China, you weren't required to be in the same physical location. So I think that's really the first and foremost reason for it. English is a pretty universal language in the Western scene. So you find most of the Western teams all speak English together. The CIS teams will make their teams where they speak Russian. So
And Dota's a decent client that you can play across a
Right.
much wider range than
Exactly.
maybe CS or
Like, if
some of the
you're
other.
not limited to like, okay, you're NA, you can only play on the NA server, right? Like, from the very beginning, you're NA, you can play on European server. In Dota 1, it was the same. People had all these like bots that helped your ping get lower and stuff. Everyone in NA understood Europe just had like more, like better players and these nice leagues, and they all want to play there. So, you get to know each other, and you're like, we can play together. It's not a problem.
Yeah, I think also when they come together so frequently on LAN as well, it breaks those barriers. It's quite great, isn't it? Because they can all talk to each other.
Right.
You mentioned Liquid, superbly diverse in terms of the players that they've got nationality-wise. Same with OG, for instance, as well. And it's almost rare these days that we actually have a team from one country outside of China.
I wonder when we'll see like the first Chinese players joining non-Chinese teams. That to me is maybe something that will eventually happen. It's quite different cultures, kind of to go back to that, but like we're seeing SEA players go play in Europe, Team Secret, right here, DC. So it's becoming very common for not even just Western teams mixing nationalities, but Eastern, Western, all over the place.
Yeah, I wonder also when we see one of the big players from the West go to China.
Black did.
I know Black did,
He's
and
the
was
only
very
one,
successful actually as well when he went out there. Also went out there and learnt the language and loved it out there as well. I think he's still out in Singapore, so he loves the area and the region anyway. But maybe one day Miracle decides, I want to go and play with a Chinese team. I wonder what sort of transfer fees that involves as well, because they've been quite heavy in China, haven't they? And that's partly why we haven't seen too many Chinese players, other than language, obviously, as God's pointed out. We haven't seen players coming out of China to other teams elsewhere because the transfer fees are just so big in China right now. It seems to be where the money is.
How does it compare to other esports, though? I think that was the crux of the
Yeah.
question. But I don't know that much about other games.
Yeah, I mean,
So
CS
Paul?
is very national limited in the main. It has lots of national teams. Velas Pro are all Polish, for instance. And, Fnatic generally have always been Swedish. So,
Well, I know in
Yeah.
League of Legends, they have this locks in their own regions, but
Yeah.
in your team, you need at least 3 of the players to be from the same
Yep.
region. And then most of the teams only have 3 of the players in the same region. Like, I know was a TSM, they have like 2 Danish players, and some teams have 2 Koreans.
Yep.
Going in. So, but in Dota it was a bit different because, like, for example, in League, in the beginning they all had like these same country players, but in Dota, like even from TI1,
Yeah,
when
it's always different, wasn't it?
where I played, I had a player. My teammates were from Sweden, America, Canada, and Romania, and one more. What was it? Croatia. Yeah, like.
Right. I think it's great. I mean, I personally think it's fantastic that nationality is not a boundary to playing in a team, and you don't have to necessarily be the 4th best Polish player to get into a team because there's only one Polish team in the championship. So I think it's fantastic. We're still waiting for the final players to drop in the lobby, but as soon as they do, we'll get into the draft. Can we squeeze one more question in, I wonder? Can we get one more? We can. Okay. Has the offlane role changed from a playmaking to a farming one? Ooh, that's a very, very good question. What do you think, Tibin? Isn't it team dependent?
Well,
Hero dependent? Isn't it a mixture of all of those things?
It's hard to say that it changed from playmaking to farming because I think, in general, if you're a core player, you're gonna farm.
Yeah.
Like, there's no necessarily like
maybe
a farming
they feel
role.
like
Do you have to farm more than you used to? I guess.
Yeah.
The question.
Farm more than.
I mean, we've seen Abaddon and Omnites going Radiant, so I think
Right.
that's where the question comes from.
Right.
But
Right.
that's not every offline.
I guess it would have to do more with like what the flavor is, right, from the patch. Like you see these Abaddon and Omni becoming stronger heroes, and the only way to actually make them work is with the farm. So you have to just do that. So whatever like the strong heroes of the patches, you need to just cater to that. So let's say maybe next week suddenly playmaking offlaners are in again. So.
I think do you feel it's team orientated as well, lineup wise? Because we've seen AG, for instance, sometimes they want mental farm on 4. Never mind 3, they want it on 4. Same with Liquid, have changed it up occasionally.
Actually,
OG have done the same thing
we can
sometimes.
use DC as an example, right? They're not really more of a farm-oriented offlaner.
Right.
Boba's more of like his playmaking, run around with his team, try to make everybody come to him offlaner. Like but he still plays Abaddon whenever is necessary for the
and
team.
then we'll farm.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, okay. Good stuff. Players are still waiting. We're having just a couple of issues to clear up with the lobby right now, so apologies for the lateness of the start of the game. And we'll take another social media question, I think, if we have one. There have been quite a few been put on the Facebook. There is still space if you'd like to go and add them. We'll try and get through as many as we can today, obviously. At Paul, of all the games you've worked on, which would you play professionally? Minesweeper.
Hello Kitty.
Barbie
Yeah.
Adventure.
No, I mean, we didn't play at pro level when I played at high level in Unreal Tournament. It was. You can't call it pro gaming. It just wasn't like that back in early 2000s and up to 2005. We won Euro Cups and Nations Cups and whatever we could play in. Lands aplenty, but they weren't big. Prize money. We didn't have crowds. We didn't even have T-shirts half the time. So, I don't think you can call it pro. But out of all the games, what would I like to be? I'd love to be able to play Dota professionally, but there's just no chance of that ever happening. Unless this Pugner Windrunner thing comes off with Owie, and then we're just going to create our own team for TI.
Maybe I can alter the question a little bit.
Okay.
All right. Will you ever consider playing professionally again?
No. At 63? Teven, I can't possibly do that.
63. Damn, I pegged you for older than that.
Didn't realize you talked about yourself by your MMR, Paul. Like, what is
My
this?
life MMR is bigger than all of yours, and that's all I'm going with. I have the best MMR in life. It's no problem at all. Is there anything else that you as you've grown up through games and you've played Dota, is there anything else that you would have loved to have played? You played early on and you thought, well, yeah, I could be a pro at this, and it just never happened.
Well, I love strategy games. I remember when Hearthstone came out,
Right.
like, everyone's like, yeah, Resident
hardcore
Sleeper, whatever. No, I liked it. I liked playing card games growing up, and there was a time where I wanted to. Maybe if I got the beta key, they gave it to me, I might have
Right.
streamed it and committed more to it, but I didn't get the chance. Perhaps it was a blessing in disguise.
You're not
Maybe.
missing out.
Yeah, exactly. And I just continue on with Dota from
Yeah.
there, really.
We've got our Clash Royale Pro here, obviously.
I've dabbled in other games, but
Yeah.
nothing really holds your attention for that long.
You keep going back to the same thing, don't you?
I know. It's like
Yeah.
some of these players have been playing for like 10, almost even more years. So
What about you, Gods?
I went through a chess phase. I think
Right.
it'd be cool to have continued
That
that.
seems to be quite popular amongst Dota players as well. I know a number of players that are good chess players as well.
I wouldn't consider myself a good player. Maybe when I was like 7 or 8 years old. Like I was beating a lot of older kids at a very young age, but then I never continued it.
Okay.
I play chess a lot too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's interesting. I find it very interesting. I often think that you need to be relatively intelligent to be able to play Dota at a high level as well. Do you agree with that?
Relative is a pretty
Well,
loose term.
you need a decent IQ, you need a good brain, because it's a difficult difficult game to master.
Yeah, a lot of people just play by feel though, and I think for the majority of the players, yeah, but some people just have this like innate knowledge of Dota that doesn't translate to anything else strangely, but they just know so much about it. It's crazy.
Yeah.
They're savants at it.
What about players that you've played in Dota, or maybe they've played other games? I mean, from my experience, Forrest springs to mind, Counter-Strike player, legend in Counter-Strike, but also can pick up Dota, probably easily be 7K. He can go and play League of Legends at the top end of he seems to be blessed be able to play any game at the high level.
That's Ice for
Is it?
Dota, at least for me. Like he
Right.
played StarCraft at a pretty professional level. He's dabbled in like League of Legends, I think, even for a period, if I'm correct on that.
We also got Baby Knight, right?
Yeah,
Baby
Knight.
Knight,
There we go.
yeah, fantastic
good-
StarCraft
Yep.
player.
Yeah,
He hasn't had like top level success in Dota, but he's done really
Right.
well with
Yeah, I mean,
Cloud9.
his
at the moment.
StarCraft was insane as well. Owie, even Grandmaster. Also, Grandmaster in StarCraft. There's been a few players who've crossed games.
Right, there's Tides of Time. I don't know if you've heard of him, but he used to play on like Pot and Bottom and stuff. He's like a super pro Hearththorn player. Obviously not a mechanic
If he stuck
games,
with Dota,
but
he could have been playing at top
Right, he
level in
would've,
NA teams.
for
easily.
sure. Yeah.
It's very interesting. Secret Shop obviously full. Crowd full. Ready. Waiting for our next series. Of course, we're waiting for our third series of the day.
How big is that venue?
I did an event in it last year. It's pretty big. It's kind of cool the way that the crowd system is kind of mooned. Does that make sense? Like an arch?
Is it? Okay.
Yeah. I think you can just sort of see it the way.
Is that like? Is it for what kind of events do they usually hold there?
I don't honestly know. I don't know if Justin Bieber plays there. Is that what you're trying to get the date for?
I'm
or-
curious. I don't know. I always like the feel for Benaroya and
Yeah.
the Symphony Hall.
Yeah,
I
actually, do you know
really
what? I
like
never got
that.
the chance to be there or host there.
Oh, you're
obviously,
missing
but,
out.
But I did watch, and when they show the clip back, and every now and again you see clips of it and you hear the roar, there is something about that place that is just magical. I don't know what it is. Is it for the same for you guys?
Oh yeah,
Beacon's been there a lot.
Yeah.
Benaroya?
Do you like Benaroya or?
Oh yeah, the thing about Benaroya is like it was very how do you say compact,
Intimate?
Like intimate. You could use that, I guess. I really liked how it was limited, and then you got all the balconies,
Yeah.
and it just had this amazing feel. Maybe I'm biased because I was there through like TI2 and TI3,
Sure.
and then it's just like when you hear the roar of the crowd in that hall, you could feel. It's as if you could feel every single person.
Right.
Like that's what it felt like. I didn't really get the same feeling when I was at the Key Arena.
Yeah. I mean, Key Arena is bigger, isn't it? It's got
Right.
an atmosphere all of its own. I remember, last year in particular, we were watching EG play home, and they had that Mega Creep come back,
Right.
and the crowd roar was just insane. It was
Right.
hairs on your arms stood up. and
Exactly.
So you get that at Key Arena, but I do get what you're saying about the smaller, more intimate arena. I don't think we could have stayed there much longer though.
I'm probably just a little biased, because of the,
That's
the
okay.
TI3. TI3 is
Sure.
like
That's the
my-
thing. Most people are biased towards the Benaroya because
Yeah.
of how amazing TI3
Yeah.
Grand Finals was. If
Yeah.
you didn't have amazing Grand Finals during the Benaroya days, people would be like, yeah,
I mean,
Benaroya was good.
If
but-
you if you sat like in that hall when that happened,
Yep.
you're already a legend just yourself, just for being there. You know, you're just a legend.
I mean, how many people there? What, 3,000, 4,000, something like that?
Roughly that.
Right, and I reckon 10 years from now, at least 100,000 people will claim to be there. It'll be one of those. No, I was there, guys. You're talking about the Alliance Navi? Yeah, I was totally there. I was in the front row. Yeah, I was shouting and screaming. 100,000 people will be claiming that they were actually at that event.
You're saying 10 years. I think right now.
Probably doing it already.
Exactly.
It is the legendary final, of course. We were talking about scorelines, actually, about grand finals before we came here. Of the 11, this is the 11th event that Valve have had, if you include all of the TIs and the 5 majors that we've had. Of the 10 that we've already had, what's the most popular scoreline?
3-1.
Yeah, 9 times out of the 10. The only one that isn't?
TI3.
Yeah.
There's been no 3-0s, which
no
is
3-0s whatsoever. Thankfully, right?
So
no
far.
3-0s. Yeah, all 3-1 except for the most magical one, which was 3-2, obviously. So
And most of
we've been very blessed.
And most of the 3-1s, like the team actually won the first game.
Yeah,
like,
bizarrely.
when they lost,
yeah.
and then they lost 3 in a row, right?
Yeah.
If I think about TI6, TI5 was the same. Was TI5 the same? No, TI6,
TI5
TI4.
TI4 was.
Yeah, those two were the same at
Is
least.
TI3 that with Navi winning? Oh, sorry, TI3. Oh, TI3. Sorry, TI2 when Navi won
TI2.
game 1 and then IG won the next 3, maybe. Or was that one?
Actually, that might have been IG first and Navi winning
Yeah, I
one, and
think
then they
Navi
lost
won
2.
game
Okay,
2,
okay.
yeah.
So not so much, but I just remember like TI6 and TI4 being where.
Just shows you how lucky we are. We are ready for the draft. Apologies for the delay, but we will get into our first draft of this 3rd series of the day. DC versus VGJ. Where's this going, Ben?
They're going to ban Omni, which I think is really important. It wasn't banned that often versus VGJ. I think it's their most picked hero through the group stage, and I think targeting ROTK with the bans is really important. If they can maybe take ABBA in the first phase, I think they'll really limit ROTK's ball. Okay, never mind.
Yeah.
GG.
Not happening.
This is like,
GG.
I mean, for RTK, it's like ABBA Omni have been his 2
Yeah.
heroes.
Right.
Yeah.
I thought they were going to ban Omni and get ABBA, and then ROTK would
I
be
mean,
screwed.
it's hard to die on an ABBA, right? So you're already like reducing some liabilities.
So you should give
in
him
your
Wraith
draft.
King is what you're saying, if you can get ABBA.
Offline Wraith King.
Yeah.
Well, he'll die before level 6. and
Oh, the Monkey Warlock combo.
Okay.
We've seen this quite a bit.
Yeah, I mean, it hasn't been massively effective during the group stages.
Yeah.
A lot of people shying away from it towards the end of the group stages and at the start of the round of 16. DC, not one of them, though. Quite happy to pick it up with alongside the Warlock.
Right, but the Monkey is quite good versus ABBA in the laning stage, but the Warlock is actually horrendous versus ABBA. If you ever use your heal on him, he's going to remove it. If you use Fate of Bonds, he can remove it off anyone. And then he also has his ultimate. So Warlock's like teamfight potential has been diminished by a lot already. So maybe not really favorable, but DC love playing this hero, and most of the games they've won was with the Warlock.
Yeah. The auto Meepo ban, by the way, was in there.
Yeah,
that's been a feature all the way through.
Are
He
we
hasn't
going
been able
to
to
see
play
any
it.
Meepos?
He hasn't been able to play it.
There was
They won't
one
let him.
from Weeha. They lost.
Yeah, but they won't let Abed play it. I mean, it's been banned out against him in every game.
If you would ask me, like, you don't really want to ban Meepo in the first phase unless it's a 3rd game. The 3rd game, you understand, like, okay, everything's on the table.
We could get cheesed in. Let's
Right.
not get messed up by it.
Yeah, we don't want to like be
Right.
flustered about anything. But the other chances, if it goes to a 3rd game, you might just forget if someone isn't constantly reminding you about it. But in the first game, I don't think
You
it's
think
something
a wasted
DC
ban?
want to do.
Wasted ban first phase?
They could wait, you know. If DC want to first pick a Meepo, okay, we have 3 more heroes to still counter us. Actually, you have 4 heroes to counter because they were from first pick. But
Tell
that's not the
Swindles
case.
that.
But it's Abed Meepo.
I mean, like I said, 3rd game. The
Or
3rd
if you
game.
what if you're down 1-0 and it's game 2? and
Okay,
you-
then that's
then you ban
completely
it
fine. It's
again,
like it's like a mind game
If
thing.
you're
You know,
about to
you
be
need to look. Maybe VGJ's read is that they're gonna meepo us right away, game 1. We just gotta get rid of it.
Chinese teams are pretty poor at dealing with Meepo.
Yeah.
I think they're way
Historically
worse than
too.
the Western teams.
Well, I think how the Chinese teams mostly think is like there are these fringe heroes, and there's a chance the enemy might play it, but we don't want to put all our powers into try and like figuring out how to counter this. You know, they'd rather play against the solid, your everyday heroes, and just play a straight up, you know, some sort of honor game.
That was the old IO as well. Like Chinese teams used to be terrible at dealing with IO if you go back to like TI3
Right.
era.
And if they knew that you even remotely play this hero, oh, no, get that out of here.
So Venge pick 2 for VGJ. Nice, safe, multiple usage hero.
Pretty decent versus Monkey King, although Monkey King hasn't had the
Right.
best win rate.
Well, it's a flexible hero that can be support or core. We've seen that throughout this tournament that a lot of teams just want to pick these heroes that go into multiple roles and not really show anything to the enemy. It's information is power in this sense.
They've only played as support in the group stages, I think 2 games, but it's still, like you say, you can change that for the main event.
Right.
It is a kind of aggressive style hero where you get your items, you rotate early, you fight.
Yeah. The heroes I'm most interested in right now are Lycan and Templar Assassin. In the previous series, we've seen both these heroes, and they both won in the games that they were played in. Maybe Templar not in the game where Mouse played, but she was still doing well. And if we look at the win rates, it's like ridiculous. Lycan has, I mean, only 5 games, but he hasn't lost yet. And Templar is at an 83% win rate so far. So let's see if they will decide to take either of those, DC or VGJ.
There's been a lot of PA picks by VGJ, and DC having none of it.
It's pretty good versus the monkey.
Yep.
You can't really like hit him through blur, and then if you ever get daggered, she can jump on you, pretty much burst you. Monkey very weak hero against high physical damage burst.
It's, poor old Abed's having a right rough time here in the bans.
He still plays plenty of other heroes.
Yeah,
is
I
the
mean,
thing.
if they want to carry on trying to ban him out, they can do so, but they're going to run out of bans before they run out of heroes that he plays.
Yep. If you're DC, do you prefer first or second pick?
If you're DC,
Yeah.
I think they would prefer the last, like
last
getting the
pick,
last
keep
pick
it
for
for Abed.
Abed. Yeah. They want to get all the information out, understand where everybody is laning, and they can just give them something favorable so that their supports can be free to move around the map.
Similar drafting style to Crit.
But I'm not too sure if like DC really follow that kind of rule.
Just more in the sense that they, e.g., want to try and get some man on as good a hero as they
Right,
can
right.
without getting it counted too often.
Right. DC think more about like the macro aspect of the game, like how they can move around the map and how they can apply pressure and snowball the game out. So sometimes they will forget that they need to pick this hero last and pick it earlier, and it could cause some problems for them.
Spectre was very successful in the last series.
That's the third hero that I've been really enjoying watching so far.
Yeah, I'm just going to put that into context, as Ben said earlier. The fact that we're even discussing the fact that Spectre's an enjoyable hero to watch just says everything about Nagasara.
Naga.
I wonder if VGJ are thinking of picking with the Timber ban, because I mean it's alright against Abba and all that, but it's still a surprising ban because it hasn't been heavily featured in DC's draft. So I wonder if they have something in mind that Timber's going to counter that they want to pick.
I think the first game DC played, Mason played it.
Yeah, they have
right?
one Timber Sword game.
So the idea behind the Timber is if DC have a Timber and they just solo against the Abba, the 2 supports can be free to do anything, right? So
they often play like that with Mason too.
Right, exactly. They want their supports to be free so they can help anything. They banned the Timber, and DC just decided that Spectre, sure, it was like a misban, since it seemed like DC were going to pick Spectre regardless. But you can understand how VGJ is thinking. They don't want to give DC the game for their supports, because their supports can literally make the entire early game for them.
So how do you actually deal with Spectre? We've seen a lot of Spectres picked up. Why not just pick her in the first phase, considering how successful she is?
It's really hard to say. In this situation, I haven't felt the reasoning why to first pick it. Maybe there's some liabilities that these teams understand because they practiced it in their scrims, and unless they ban some heroes, then they can't really pick it. We don't really know about that, right? But picking Spectre, the best way to really counter is pressure her lane and then try to 5-man so that she cannot just haunt in for some pickoffs. Just try to abuse her timing, pretty much. And one of the reasons why I think Spectre is being picked a lot now is Alchemist being out of the meta. This hero, when Spectre was trying to finish her Radiance, he would already be 6-slotted and taking all your towers and killing all your heroes, and you don't really want to play this passive game against Alchemist. So that being removed from the pool made Spectre a much more a stronger hero to pick.
So Abed's going to get his Ember.
Kind of surprising, right, that they would pick their mid hero with having the last pick.
Unless they felt like it would be a last one ban.
They must really have wanted it. I mean, it's good against the Living Arm with Flame Guard, but you're not picking your mid typically to counter one of their supports.
But what they are doing is they're going to get information whether the Venge is going to be a support or not, and they're going to be able to give Boba an offlaner that's going to be a good match for the against VGJ safe lane.
Do you think there's a chance VGJ, you mentioned pressuring Spectre, they want to go aggro lane, Tree and Venge +1?
It's a pretty good possibility, I think,
Yeah.
actually, with Monkey King as one of the supports. It's a good idea.
It could be.
Looks like some IG draft that we saw earlier today.
Right, with the Medusa and the Venge core.
Yeah.
Medusa Tree, and you get that team fight synergy as well.
Right now, VGJ's lineup have a lot of 5-man potential, and they have a lot of auras, right? They have the Abba's Curse, and they have Vengeful Spirit, who has -, aura. It's going to amp this Medusa up a lot. So if you think like Medusa doesn't really deal a lot of damage in team fights, with these two heroes, she's going to be doing a lot of damage.
They don't have the best control for the Ember. Do you see that as being a problem? I mean, the Jug pick would have allowed them to maybe just 5-man push towers and not care, but do you think they need to get something with some extra lockdown?
For sure. The Ember laning against Medusa is not going to be too optimal for him. It's going to like run out of mana. It's going to get hit constantly. But later on, it could become a very, very big issue. It's a matter of like how much momentum VGJ can build up from taking buildings.
Meanwhile, Digital Chaos actually have a terrible building hitting lineup.
Right.
Ember and Spectre, oh my goodness.
That's not like their style either. Like
Yeah.
to pick these heroes without building damage is extremely important for a team like DC to be able to group up somewhere and just take objectives. But right now, there's no like clear way as to how they're going to do it. The clear way they have right now is for Warlock to get level 6. And that's not really a good game plan, since your momentum cannot happen till like 10 minutes in the game where he buys the Tome of Knowledge and goes from there.
I mean, even then you have like a Spectre Ember in the front lines hitting buildings very slowly. It's not exactly going to be the most effective way to use the rock.
Especially versus Tree.
Full-on team fight.
So VGJ go full IG on us, actually, with the Tree Phoenix.
Yeah, but they do not have
Which didn't
any
really
real
work that
disables.
well.
Yeah.
It's okay, good enough 5-man. As long as Ember does and Spec don't get huge.
That was a game against Secret, right?
Yeah.
Where VGJ picked, IG picked a very similar lineup to this one.
Yep, almost identical.
There's some building hit. Okay, I think it's kind of
Nature's
big
Prophet.
DC needed.
Yeah. And this is like another thing. Boba doesn't really, I feel like he doesn't really enjoy playing these farm-oriented heroes in this team.
I saw him playing in a pub last night, though. But
Right.
Yeah.
But like,
Let's say
he needs to, right? If it's a meta hero, which Prophet is.
He wants to be playing the tempo controllers, run around, making space, initiating fights, those kind of picks.
Okay, prediction time, gods.
Game 1, I'm going to go with VGJ. I think, the line may not have worked for IG, but I think they've
Suits
got a
their
better,
style?
it suits their style and will work well with around the Medusa.
Okay.
I'm going to go with DC. I think they have the better individual players and the better teamwork in this particular tournament. I think VGJ's lineup is stronger, but I don't necessarily think Dracula alone can carry them this game.
Okay, one for each.
I like DC's draft, but I don't like the playstyle for them. So I'm just going to take VGJ on this one.
Okay. Very interesting prediction. Split down the middle, 2 for VGJ and 1 for DC. Let's find out who is right and who is wrong as we head down to the arena with our commentary team of LD and Purge.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the National Palace of the Arts. We're live here on the floor, myself, LD, and Purge, getting ready for our third elimination match of day 1, Kevin.
Yeah, kind of exciting to see a lot of teams on that knife's edge of do they go home, do they stay in the tournament, and I think this is going to be one of the closest matches of the day for sure. I mean, very similarly ranked. They both went 2-2. They both had some tough opponents. They both had maybe some less tough opponents, but we really don't know what's going to happen here.
Yeah, we really don't know what's going to happen with these teams either, and I think that's true for the players as much as it is for the fans out there. And you know, regardless of what happened at the group stage, now you come to the main event. For DC, their first big stage appearance as a team, had a great showing in the qualifiers to get here. But I had a chance to speak to Demon this morning at breakfast, and he said coming into Kiev Major, they were feeling really kind of crappy as a team. They had lost at one point 16 scrims in a row. And yes, scrims are scrims, they are practice, but for morale and for a team that hasn't proven themselves yet, that could be something that tilts you a little bit. So since then, had a better showing in the group stage. We'll see if they can deliver, but coming in, maybe a team that's a little bit nervous with a lot to prove.
Yeah, with that said, though, they did do really well in the group stage, so all they got to do is win one good best of 3, and they double their money. That's pretty amazing. Top 8 already.
All right, so let's talk a little about the drafts here. I think you mentioned it as soon as the Deuce got picked, that the VG Gaming draft does look quite reminiscent of something IG ran earlier today with great success.
Yeah, exactly. Medusa as the pretty much the solo core with Avenge backing it up, but you know, it's a little bit more of a supporty type carry, and then a lot of good heals and team fight to back it up on top of that. So may work out really well. IG's game, it ended up being a pretty much straightforward closeout, just repel the Medusa and hit buildings. They don't have that same magic immunity though.
Aggressive, playing up to his name here, is going to assume the high ground. They were going for an early invasion play, VG Gaming, Jay, as they continue to move forward, wanting to contest this bounty room. DC, not really the strongest level 1. They are going to give it up for free here. So a little bit of extra gold in their pockets. And we are going to see on the flip side, for Digital Chaos, the 5th pick, Phoenix, maybe caught them a little off guard at going into that pick. Not many ways to deal with the egg. So they end things with the Bulba, Nature's Prophet, taking a page maybe out of the Liquid playbook as well with that.
It's a rare time where your last pick, as the team that has to grab their last pick first, actually throws the enemy team off, just because of the fact it fits so well in with the team fight and because of the lack of range heroes on DC. But I think the Prophet was a pretty good reaction to that, especially because Phoenix is a pretty crappy laner. No armor on the hero. He did get like a 2 base strength buff, which is 40 HP, but it may not be enough.
Yeah, so early on, we are going to see the Deuce mid matching up against Abed on the Ember Spirit, taking some early harassment. Mason running what's become one of the most popular carries, at least here on day 1 in the main event, as Bulba is going to be brought down. Quick pick for VG Gaming, finding the first blood. So Nature's Prophet not off to a great start here. But yeah, we're seeing yet another Spectre pick in the safe lane, not really being contested right now.
Yeah, it's a little bit tough sometimes for Abaddon to actually go to the lane, especially against a Warlock who has great animation, great nuke, and against a Monkey King as well, especially if he gets a fast Orb of Venom. It's tough to play against. And that's exactly what happened to the Prophet, actually. With Tree there, you don't know if he's there. Maybe he is, maybe it isn't. If he gets a stun off and the Orb of Venom slow, it's very often a kill.
Dubu already going hunting here in the Radiant Woods. He is searching for that jungling and low HP Abaddon as he dances from tree to tree. Not going to find him just yet, and in fact, it looks like RTK may dodge the bullet. He did start with the Iron Talon here, and he is already heading back towards the base. Looks like he will be healing up, so doing so also avoids potential gank or EXP being leached.
Did you see this cosmetic of his during DAC? I heard it's a very rare item. It stole some like effect from a courier, which is why it looks so ridiculous. That's pretty cool. That's value right there.
2 for the price of 1.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, but you can see the Dubu is really intent on trying to slow down this off-lane Abaddon, as he has dropped down a sentry to potentially block one of those camps. Still sitting around mid, thinking about a potential move on Freeze, but no signs that RTK wants to go to the offlane right now. So Spectre will be getting free farm. And after that Death Bulba, he's made the same transition off to the jungle now and is entirely uncontested, at least for the time being.
Yeah, it's not too bad for Nature's Prophet. I mean, hypothetically, if Monkey King does find an opening, he can show up. But I like what Fenrir is doing here. He's reacting to what the Monkey is doing. They did see him leap over, obviously.
Oh, they caught him here with the scam. Can they break the tree?
They missed it, actually. They
3 VG Gaming heroes. They're just going to start demolishing. Fenrir killing his brother, and he goes again for it.
It takes a sign of a really good Monkey King player when that kind of stuff happens. You just don't move. You're like, oh.
They're just going to kill the entire forest at this rate.
Like, not moving is actually so much better than jumping, because as soon as you jump, they have a chance of spotting you from a tower, or maybe another tree moves. But if you just hold still and they don't get you, it's a lot of times safer.
He can
get caught here.
Jumping across the way. Will he get eaten? He will. Has the stun, gets the bash. Will he get the follow-up, though? RTK coming, but Dubu just going to TP away and should be A-OK. So a lot of space created there, Kevin, and they're not able to find the kill.
Phoenix comes all the way from the safe lane, does a dive, doesn't work, loses HP. Durant uses at least 2 to 3 tangos. Yeah, he TP'd out as well, but now blocking that camp with a sentry, I don't know if that one's actually going to pay off or not. It might not be up in time to block the 5-minute, but he's definitely made a lot of space. Forces opponents to rotate, things like that.
Yeah, and meanwhile, Ember doing about even here versus the Dusa in the mid lane, so Abed having a decent start. And most importantly, it's a free farm Spectre, 25-7, entirely uncontested. Normally Abaddon thought of as a very irritating off-laner, but he has not been that presence, just giving up free farm to the Spectre so far.
Yeah, and something else I forgot about, it's not just the fact that there's a Monkey King Warlock. Prophet could show up as well. That's 4 right clicks that could hit this guy before he has level 6. That's a huge threat. But with that said, he's picked up level 3 already. He's done fairly well, considering that Monkey King could have been there to sap experience. So I think he's going to be pretty pleased with his position right now.
So we have a pause here. We have a moment, I think, to talk about like the longer term view for this game. So Given the two compositions, Kevin, how do you feel they match up? Where are kind of the power spikes for each lineup, and what are each team's respective goals heading towards the mid and potentially late game?
Yeah, VG Gaming is all about team fighting, basically. They'll probably have a fairly passive first 10 minutes. Phoenix wants to get his level 6, obviously. Treant Protector is usually going to do some roaming, but would love a faster level 6 as well. And ultimately, they'll eventually group up and start pushing towers with Medusa as the front line, or a combo of Venge with the Medusa. So then they'll be looking for vulnerable moments like swapping somebody out of position, killing them, starting the team fight on their decision-making kind of a thing. But at least the way that IG played it earlier today, it was definitely very passive for about 10 minutes or so. On DC's side of the map, they're definitely going to want to get their 6s, that kind of a thing. And then they're going to start grouping Warlock, make him show up somewhere, and then they'll Haunt, bring in the Spectre, bring in the Nature's Prophet. So DC is basically ready to fight at any moment. And that's one thing that really sticks out to me this game. When you think about Liquid playing it earlier today, it was basically like, I doom somebody, you Haunt in. But DC has like so many more options. It could be Monkey King finding somebody. It could be Warlock finding somebody. It could be Ember. It's basically anybody on their team, and they can get two hero backup instantly. So VG Gaming, if they do want to go slow for this first 10 minutes or so, I feel like DC has way more roaming potential, assuming they get the levels a bit faster.
Yeah, they have incredible mobility between the Prophet, the Ember, who can and often do show up at any time, as you mentioned, the Spectre Haunt, and even the Monkey King, where you never quite know what he's up to in the trees. So VG called for the pause, but looks like we're ready to go. We get back into it with VG Gaming looking to reset now. So interestingly, are running aggressive on the Venge, and something you don't really know with a lot of the teams that run this hero is, will it be a support? Will it be a carry? As they have also run FY Audit in the support role, but is playing that safe lane Venge, and generally we do see players on that the carry Venge getting quite active in like the early to mid game. Yeah. Once they get their 7 to 9 or so and really start looking for ganks, solo pushing towers if they're left undefended. So I'm interested to see where aggressive looks to move.
One other big thing that's important actually before this Observer Ward dies is RTK did actually block the large camp at the start of the game. The ward almost dead now, but that definitely impacts Demon's levels a lot. He's not even level 3 right now. Yeah, and that's all because less resources in the jungle.
You can see FY really trying to harass and bully Dubu a bit here, keep him out of the lane as much as possible. So he's trying to leech experience in this bottom lane, but decides not the safest place to be. Instead, he's going to rotate towards top. Now hunting RTK, who is level 3. So still killable at this stage of the game. Running out of mana as well, but leeching that experience, starting to be a bit of a nuisance. And all the while, relatively quiet laning stage aside from that. Most supports just trying to get their levels. We'll see RTK run to Demon here, get a little thwack, but not too much threat of a kill just yet.
The levels are definitely the biggest impact right now, but it seems like both teams are pretty similar. I guess Nature's Prophet looking to have a decent advantage. Almost level 5 here. Abaddon's about a level behind that. But the supports as a whole, very equivalent levels right now. So looks like both teams will get their 6s about the same time. We'll see if that impacts, if DC can get an advantage with theirs.
Yeah, and often when we do see the safe lane Spectre, like it used to be the old way to play Spectre was Piper passive, but I want to say like for the last year or so, it's as soon as you hit 6, you're looking for that Haunt gank. And sometimes the team will even smoke TP to try and set it up right away. And speaking of which, Mason, very close to level 6 now, has the phase boot, so he is a real threat for a potential early rotation.
Yeah, absolutely, but I think it's going to have to be Dubu if I look at it. I mean, Ember can definitely rotate as well. It's a great hero that can gank side lanes and stuff, but Demon's only level 3. Maybe Prophet can initiate, but that's not very safe either. So I think it may take another stronger hero with some more disable, like Monkey King getting maybe level 4, level 3, something like that. He actually does pick up a smoke right now. He's going to grab Ovid, so that's going to be the target here. 6 on Ember. Dubu's level 2, but that's good enough. And they're going to rotate, probably going for aggressive, I'm guessing. Maybe Freeze. His mana's actually kind of low.
Yeah, Dusa looking surprisingly killable here, at least for the time being, but the line is drawn towards the south. So Abed, Dubu striking a course for this bottom lane.
They got to get here really fast, though, because the middle lane's empty. No Ember Spirit.
Simultaneously, VG Gaming also on a gank of their own, as we can see RTK and Aggressive looking to move in top. They'll defender a bash to start things off. They're going to slow him down into a swap. Aggressive making his move, finds the stun. Follow-up is there. Mason low, but is able to path his way through the trees over to the other side. He's going to make it out. Meanwhile, FY sitting back, but is it far back enough? Diving into the trees, has to pull off his own magic to get away, but Ember's there looking for the catch. Abed doesn't get the chains he was hoping for, and with that, FY also going to TP out. A great escape by both heroes in their respective safe lanes, and now rotation coming in. RTK going to try to hold this tower bottom.
The Prophet ulti came in, but it was a little bit too slow. Too many creeps on the map, and It's not a bad kill if they can get it.
He sees 3 bottom. He's like, this is a safe lane to farm, but Mason says it is not safe for RTK. Get the hell out of here. Phase Boots cooling down. Does not have the mana here for the shield, and Mason with one more swipe is going to get the kill. So an early kill to the Spectre, and should be able to go back to farming, though he is a bit low on HP right now.
That was a little close. There's a chance that would have taken 2 hits, but they do clean it up 1 for 1, and maybe things go static. DC's actually hanging out, though. Abed's still down here, putting down a safety remnant, thinking about cutting the creep wave. This is one really good way to actually reduce what Freeze can do, since he just walked all the way here.
That is a value shrine that DC are getting right now, as 3 heroes who needed it, all gonna top themselves off. Then Mason, quick TP back, so especially with the introduction of shrines, I guess that is one of the big benefits to Spectres. It generally doesn't have too much regen in the early game, but this allows him to stay on the field as much as possible and keep his farming up after a hot gank.
That's a great point, absolutely. Spectre did a great job surviving as well. Beating back so early. Ooh, big courier snipe here for Prophet. That's a lot of gold in the early game.
The great Bulbino off to a good start here for DC. Has the phase boots, picked up the bracer. Could well be seeing the early drums from him, as he's going to start farming the enemy ward, so looking to play the economy game simultaneously. Fenrir stalking Dubu and Mason. Dubu's still only level 2. He's going to just now get 3, but it's being
That's fine.
stalked a bit. No real threat of a gank here, though, in the top lane. And, you know, with the... I guess that is the question for me, Kevin, is it feels like it's basically on the Venge to make plays, because there isn't a whole lot of gank potential for most of the other VG heroes.
Yeah, that's a really good point. Usually, I was just going to comment, it's weird that Venge is still top lane. Like, normally you gank it, you get out, you escape, but he's actually playing off lane right now, more or less, trying to contest the Spectre a little bit, have the threat of the gank there, and at least Mason does have to be a little worried about getting swapped. But with Venge's mana pool, there's actually not that much threat of him dying right now, so this is just going to hurt his overall net worth, even if it did put some tower pressure on.
And of course, Freeze is still getting his farm, but still a fairly passive presence in this game, as he tops the CS charts by a slight margin. So curious to see if VG look to group up anytime soon. Level 5 on FY, so I imagine waiting for the Supernova. Should have it probably in the next minute and a half or so if all goes well. Could potentially look for a group up then, but I mean, that's the beauty of the DC lineup, right? They have great split push with the Prophet, the Ember, so if they don't want to take that fight, they really don't have to.
Yeah, I think DC is way ahead in this way. Demon on the Warlock just hit 6 here. He's walking towards his base. I'm pretty sure he's going to group up with an ally, most likely. Yeah, they're TPing the ball lane. This is where the smoke's coming. So DC's tempo is going to be a little bit ahead of where VG Gaming is. Because Phoenix, I don't think he's going to hit 6 in time. He's only 5.5 right now. This is the hero to kill. If they can kill him, quite possibly take the tower afterwards. Yeah, they're committing another TP.
Moving on to FY. FY going to dive away. Now the bash coming onto Bulba. Fenrir might end up getting caused. The Nature's Wrath bounces through. Fenrir will be the sacrificial lamb. Boundless Strike to secure that kill. And with that, DC going to start muscling up on this bottom tower. They did force the freeze rotation. Not an easy takedown, but at the same time does not want to try to hold this tower by himself. So he rotates, doesn't get much done, misses out on some farming time, and the Phoenix gets forced away as well. So a pretty big win for DC. Even though it's only 1 kill in a support, they get a lot more farm value out of it.
Yeah, it was very early for Bulba to go in there. I thought that he made a big mistake, but thinking about it now, they didn't have that much cash potential on the Phoenix. I think he just wanted him out of the lane, so he delays his 6 even farther. He does pick up the experience tome now, so now he's got it, but DC's already gotten a tower advantage without using Haunt. That only costs him the hero rotation and the Prophet ulti. That's almost nothing.
Yeah, DC playing, I think you used the perfect word for it, very up-tempo. They already have the phase boots earn on Mason. He's certainly combat ready. Bulba with phase, drum, and now going back for the Midas. So also a hero that can get very active in these early engagements. The Warlock ult has come online for Demon. And as they see a bit of a slow level 6 for RTK, only just now got it, still trying to farm his Midas. Phoenix just getting level 6 as well. They know they can try and take these early fights, apply pressure, and take advantage of Vici, who just want to farm that Deucer for late game. But now the jump comes in onto Aggressive. Great catch there by Abed. The swap out says, take my friend instead. Aggressive continuing to run, continuing to try and get away, but the rock gets dropped. Demon doing good work, not finding the kills just yet as RTK strikes first, bringing down Dubu. Demon retaliating with the FY grab, and Aggressive still trying to hunt Mason, but another dagger. Looks like he might escape. Then Abed comes back in. What a great bait by Mason. They will find an additional kill here. Looking still for RTK. Not going to get that one, but they find 2. They get the tower.
Dude,
And they will reset.
What an amazing fight there for them. I mean, they pressured the lane, they used all their ultimates, but the important thing was they eventually killed that Vengeful Spirit. She was actually so tanky with the early hood and the Abaddon backing her up, but not only that, but that's a down. The Supernova's gone now for 70 seconds. They're instantly going to go to the bot lane, bringing all their full HP heroes, most likely, possibly take another tower. They have huge tower advantage right now. Like you said, Mason is still farming his Radiance. He hasn't made a ton of progress in that engagement, but the kills are huge.
Yeah, Mason coming to a lot of fights, but still when you look at net worth, only, what, 200 down on the Venge, who obviously is going to have a stronger laning presence and very much similar to his own Ember. So overall, in fine shape, as long as you're keeping the enemy team down, that's really all you care about as a Spectre.
Absolutely.
You'll get to late game eventually. So for VG, now RTK in a bit of trouble here. He's going to get jumped by Dubu, but the ult gets procced. RTK able to get away for now. The Magic Missile going to follow an Ember Spirit. Eventually stuns him, but a bit too late to find the kill. So now going with the Sunray onto Dubu. Can he finish him off? Doesn't quite look like it. Demon able to heal him up with the Shadow Word, and he will slink away. So DC again, heavy pressure, are forced out of the jungle, but no kills forthcoming for VG.
Yeah, the fact that they could just keep the Warlock in the safe lane, get a lot of pulls done, faster level 6 on him, really helped in a lot of ways. Even though the Monkey King was only 3, he still feels useful. Obviously, Monkey King Ultimate, amazing. But Dubu, without being 6 here, it still feels like he's contributing to the game. So it's even harder for VG Gaming to get stuff done. Like you said, it's Vengeful Spirit that has to set movements and make things happen.
Yeah, and who do you want to initiate on here? Demon sitting quite far back, Monkey King not visible, and Ember generally not an easy hero to catch and attempt to pick off. Very little lockdown for the Ember when you really look at it.
They're thinking about holding this, but they don't have Warlock Golem. They'll go for the deny.
I'll bet. Good effort, but now gets swamped. Aggressive. Not able to follow that one up. Again, it's a swap into maybe like a tree bash, but that's really stretching it. As DC will retaliate in the top lane. Some pressure, but RTK there to defend it. So taking down that tier 1 mid. Pretty nice grab for Vici, but at the very least, DC still farming all the while. As Spectre hits 2,600 gold. Now the leader in net worth, Mason is. So all things considered, I think DC pretty damn happy with this first 15 minutes.
Yeah, they really should be. I mean, as soon as they get Radiance up, I feel like a lot of their team fight issues might even be solved. Fenrir getting ganked though.
Fenrir is going to get caught. The smoke was broken, but it didn't seem to matter. So he'll be quickly burst down. DC converging, finding the kills. They now have a BOT pickup for Abed, so the mobility ramps up. The Midas also snagged for Bulba, so.
Man, that's so good. He can TP to the Treants as well, so pretty much all of their heroes can be global. This is a global strat.
Except that poor Warlock. He's just like...
He's got legs, man.
Yeah. At least he's got a few to work with.
Somebody's got to carry the wards, okay?
Late game BOTs.
That's true. It's a possibility. You never know. But once they pick up the Radiance, though, any tree armor just burn through almost instantly. Mischance for all of these right-click heroes. I mean, it's basically what? Medusa right-clicking, Venge right-clicking with some spell stuff. The Vici Gaming lineup is not looking so hot here. And Medusa's going to have terrible space to farm as well. She can't just sit in the mid lane, keep killing creeps, and be fairly defensible in that position. Now she has to hit up jungles, places like that. It's just not as fast and it's not as safe.
And definitely not safe with that tower falling bottom and the invasion play from DC. Not only do they get the kill, but more importantly, look at these wards, Kevin. Some great vision over wherever the Dusa might farm, any supports who are looking for their levels, and definitely a lineup that we talked about with their mobility. Can easily punish any hero farming on their own. So I kind of like the way Vici are farming, where they're not just on their own. You see 4 heroes in a pretty small neck of the woods, all slightly closer together, but still, it's a little scary. Whereas DC feel very free to spread the map. You've just got Abed on his own bottom lane, mid being farmed by Bulba, 3 off towards top, so they are much less afraid of any potential ganks or aggressive movements.
Yeah, it's very smart for them to sit by Mason right now. So like, if he's about to get his relic, it's a very likely ganking time for their opponents.
Oh, big jump in there by the Ember. He's going to force out a Phoenix Egg and then Zippity-doo-dah, Abed. That's a see you later. So forces out a huge ultimate. Doesn't really cost him a whole lot, just a bit of mana.
And so basically now all Phoenix can do is reduce attack speed and do magic damage in fights.
They did find Dubu here. Ate his tree. Monkey trying to be cute, trying to be clever. As RTK looks to chase him down, they'll get the follow-up bash and the stun. So kill secured. They, at long last, get something going.
That's definitely a good kill, but it's not the same as the enemy team. Almost every single time that DC's been getting a kill, it's a support or a hero right next to a tower. So even if they're only dead 20 seconds, it gives them a couple seconds to pressure a tower, forces another person from VGJ to respond. Like, they just lost a hero, and Bulba's still hitting this building, just because of the way Abed and him have been playing down here.
And speaking of Abed, he was having a look here for FY. It's going to force him to Icarus dive away now. Basically out of the fight, though. Freeze doing a good job of forcing Abed back. Fenrir waiting, trying to catch him out, but not quite able to swing that slow paw of his. So he will make it away, but still again, pressure, space created, all of it for the Spectre. Now picked up the Relic, and the Radiance, I imagine, coming relatively soon.
That's why this BOTs on Ember is so good this game, because they have weak disable. He can basically just show up, and maybe Dubu will die here, but he can just show up, mess around with them a little bit, make them back up, make them rotate heroes over, TP back to base. He can do that every, what, 45 seconds right now? And he's not even at a big threat right-click wise.
Yeah, and you have basically the same thing with the Prophet. Speaking of which, gonna find RTK, will TP out. As it seems he is also going to be going for that Radiance build, but his timing pretty slow as bottom lane, a big team fight breaks out. Overgrowth, as well as the Warlock ultimate committed here. They're going to see Fenrir going down nice and early. Now Freeze is going to try to keep the fight alive with the Stone Gaze, but ends up having to just disengage. DC forcing him out of the jungle. Mason getting involved again, and now only about 500 gold away or so from picking up the Radiance as we see top lane aggressive with the swap of Bulba. Does he have anything to follow this up with, though? Just auto attacks for the time being. No mana for a stun. Is again throwing out the Wave of Terror, but Bulba, no TP available. Now going to go for it. Doesn't quite have the mana. Aggressive. It's close, but no cigar.
Yeah. Bulba's really farmed right now. His items are great. Working his way towards the Orchid. Built the Midas after Drum, as is pretty standard right now in Prophets. And a lot of Midas is actually being built this game. I did like that Abaddon at least got his before his mana boots or whatever other boot option he wanted to grab. Usually phase, I guess, but just helps accelerate him a little bit faster. But the rest of the team isn't fully committing to that same kind of style. Vengeful Spirit not going to get Midas this game.
FY looking for a potential, at least, harassment here on Mason, but Duba's going to retaliate, as he will help secure Mason's retreat. Radiance now online. Haunt cooling down in a minute, and Vici finally going to make what feels like really their first offensive move since that 0-minute smoke to try and secure a bounty rune. As they head into the Roach Pit, they will do this while Haunt's on cooldown. They also know that the Golem is out of the picture for quite some time, but that doesn't mean Abed can't threaten to go in, try and snatch that Aegis. Remnant dropped. Dubu looking for the setup here with the Boundless Strike, and RTK dropping dangerously low. They might be able to just force out this borrowed time, and then really sticking around in the Roach Pit is extremely dangerous. We are going to see Demon trying to set things up. Boundless Strike comes through. Roach not low enough just yet, and Abed getting forced back. So with that damage he's taken, has to be careful. He's going to TP home, could BOT back in. Still DC sticking around, threatening to go in.
They got 20 seconds.
Moving forward, they need a little more time for these ults. Abed's gonna jump into the pit. The Aegis snatched by Aggressive. The last hit, though, does go the way of the Dire, but he pays for it with his life. Vengeance, as Fenrir will take Abed down, and now the chase forward, looking for the Bulba kill. No mana on Aggressive as of yet, no stick charges either, but they don't need it. They're just able to muscle him down with auto attacks and the power of the sun. FY unleashing the Ray, a big fight for Vici.
Yeah, it's about a 1,500 gold swing, but with that said, by killing Roche, your team gets like 1K across the board already, so I'm not 100% sure that's worth it. They're only dead for about 30 seconds or pretty early into the game, so a small victory, but still having the Aegis is definitely something that VGJ can try to exploit, especially because Venge almost has his Shadow Blade here. This is going to be an item, normally you see a Midas here, but with the Shadow Blade, he can actually try to put some tempo and pressure on the map.
I guess the one downside is you'd probably rather have the Aegis on Freeze, right? So kind of being forced to just whoever can pick it up in the heat of the moment.
Actually, I don't agree with that. If there's no mana drain, I think Freeze is a really hard kill right now. Whereas if Venge wants to get aggressive on the map with the Shadow Blade, he's going to put himself in a dangerous position, really, where he could be punished. That's where the Aegis is going to pay off.
All right, let's see if he can take advantage of it. Moving in under cover of Shadow Blade. He's going to scout out Demon here in reserve. Quickly gets jumped on. Fenrir combining. They'll find the early kill, and that's a great way to start the fight for VG Gaming. Now the Phoenix Egg committed is Aggressive, chasing for those follow-up kills. Not able to find anyone just yet. Slightly underwhelming Kaboom is the Boundless Strike on Aggressive, combining there with the Sprout, but they're committing a lot just for the Aegis. We'll finally pop it. Is there any sort of response here? Overgrowth is cooling down, but they don't have the egg to combo with it, and Aggressive gets trapped, has to swap himself away. RTK there, trying to protect him as best he can, throwing out the shields, the heals, now the Ray comes. FY from the back doing what he can, but it's simply not enough. He has to dive away too. And it looks like in the end they will be forced to retreat, losing 3, losing the Aegis, and now looking for more. They're going to get Hefway on the back lines. It's Bulba to the rescue. Another big pick for him.
Great TV by him to clean up the rest of the team. That's a guaranteed tier 2. There's creeps at the mid tower as well, so this pressure is not going to stop. And all of that advantage that VG Gaming got was pretty much erased instantly. And that was still with killing Warlock at the start of the fight. No Golem, no Shadow Ward, no Fatal Bonds. The haunt with Radiance at this time in the game was just so hard to deal with. They were forced to use the egg almost instantly, and as a result, didn't have it a couple seconds later when they really needed it.
Yeah, I mean, you look at that team fight on paper, and it's pretty dirty. Overgrowth into a Stone Gaze with the egg about to explode over your team, but in practice, FY struggling to find good egg opportunities, so maybe we'll see a defensive item pickup. Perhaps he can, you know, they can try and take a fight while the haunt's on cooldown, but you know, the egg doesn't exactly have a short cooldown either. It's only going to be up 20 seconds before the haunt, so barring a haunt used offensively on its own, it's not going to be too easy to find those clean windows for a team fight.
And as Spectre grabs more and more items, it's going to be things like agility items, attack speed items with some HP. He's going to be able to jump on the egg right away, pretty much. No matter where the egg is, as long as he's not busy somewhere else and he's got haunt ready, that egg's going to have a hard time cracking open.
VG Gaming now making a move towards mid. They're going to scout out Abed. With the Shadow Blade, Aggressive could maybe lead with the stun and just muscle him down with physical damage out of Invis, but already jumping away, so Abed wise that there could be a potential gank as he finds himself well on the way to achieve his guard now. So for the side of DC, everyone farming reasonably well as they're going to make their move. RTK caught out on the top side of the map. Dubu going to pounce in. Still holding the Boundless Strike here. The ult being committed. Dropping low, he has at least bought the Relic, but he's so close to the full Radiance. Doesn't look like he's going to get it as they converge as the borrow time ends. Hitting him with another round of attacks. Boundless Strike finally dropped. They get the kill. And now VG Gaming forced to defend this tower without what could be a key weapon in their upcoming fight. So no Radiance now. Still for 500 gold as Bulba makes a big dive in. Can they punish this? They get the silence off on FY. No egg for you, sir, he says, killing him off quickly. And now on to Fenrir. Can they bring down the Tram Protector low? Being hounded by the Golem. Not dead just yet. Aggressive looking for the turnaround, though. They will end up finding 3, turning this fight on its head, and they do it without the Phoenix Egg required at all, with Bulba already dead. So basically, it felt like a 3v5, and they still get 3 kills of their own.
Yeah, the initiation was actually great for VGJ there. The Venge was in perfect position. He got to start the fight by stunning the Ember Spirit, and they got to follow it up with an Overgrowth a bit later as well. Guaranteeing that kill made everything so much easier for VGJ. There was no huge damage dealer other than the AoE Radiance Burn kind of thing. Spectre's just not quite ready to jump in and kill everybody. He needs to play around somebody else, taking some pressure off him, and Monkey King's not ready for that. The Golem can't do it for too long, and Ember Spirit getting locked down and killed, that just did way too much.
Yeah, maybe not respecting just how good Vichi's team fight is, that, you know, even if Phoenix is out of the picture, the follow-up potential of the Overgrowth into the Stone Gate, still something to be feared, as I see them slow down a little bit more. So Freeze now on his way to a Hurricane Pike continues to quietly continue to be the lead farmer here in terms of CS anyway, as RTK has finally picked up his Radiance, should be coming out momentarily. So VG Gaming about to hit that next power spike, Kevin, and as we hit the 25-minute mark, I guess the question is, like, do you see a timer for either team? Do both scale equally well late? And what is your game plan? It seems clear this game is not going to end, you know, sub 30 minutes, so we are looking more towards the late game now.
Yeah, it really is. And with that said as well, Abaddon is going to scale fairly well, I think, just because he's got the Midas so early and the Radiance picked up too. Monkey King got to be careful here. His Invis just ran out. Yeah, he's 20 seconds to his TP here.
Continues to go deeper, but they're looking for him now. Dubu, oh man, he's in deep. That is way too deep.
That was actually really unlucky. The Avenge just happened to be there. He didn't use his TP. He was actually here already, so...
He did get a ward down, though.
Oh, that's actually really good.
I guess if that goes unscouted, maybe it's worth it.
I actually think that, yeah, that's pretty worth it, I think. Because, I mean, look at the map right now. There's only 2 tier 2s alive. It means you want to keep your opponents in your base, and if they leave the base, you want to know where they go. And this is a place where nobody is going to anticipate a ward at this time period, except for the fact that Monkey King was just there. But we'll see. It might catch some spots, and at the very least, it's going to notice supports leaving the base, headed to the bot lane, things like that.
Aggressive continuing to stalk around here under cover of Shadowblade, now back into the trees. And the threat of that gank has forced a gem reaction, but it's Fenrir who pounces first. He goes in, but sleight of fist there from Abed. Oh, he just barely gets away.
Can
he
heal
salvages the gem. I think he lives.
Okay.
Does 70 HP. That was real close to a kill, but did get the sleight of fist off and barely able to make it out.
Just painfully watching is here to see if there's any other attacks that were coming, because jumping to your Remnant doesn't actually disjoint those attacks. There was a chance that one more little hit would sneak through and get him killed, but at least he saved the gem. That was what lost them the last fight, and they spent the money on it. They can't lose it this early.
Well, now he's got to be real careful. Like, he had the gem. Okay, now Aggressive can't sneak up on me as easily, but there's also the Blink Dagger on Fenrir, and that was, I believe, the debut, so.
Yeah, it was. Blinked forward and punched him instantly. 2.2 second stun.
That's some one-punch man stuff right there, as Fenrir hides in the trees up above. Dubu stalking him, but is currently invis. It's Abed leading the way. Is going to find the chains connection. Do they want to follow this up, though? Diving that far for a tree. A bit dicey against the kind of team fight that VG can turn around with, and they are going to lead with the swap. They get up on Demon. The rock drop, but not to much effect as in comes Freeze. Engaging with the Stone Gaze, combining it with the egg. Can Abed make it out? Looks like should be able to escape at least for now. They continue pursuit. There is a haster in here for Fenrir, so they might try to go for this. Aggressive is going to have the Shadow Blade soon, but they're basically just going to have to catch Abed being greedy if they want to get this kill, as he does end up just TPing fully away. So VG Gaming dropped a lot of ults there, Kevin, but they will take the fight.
The game changed a lot in these last couple engagements. I mean, the big thing about that fight was the Observer Ward spotting those heroes. And what was insane, actually, is when he swapped Warlock, it killed the trees on both sides, which stunned the Monkey King for 4 full seconds. So there was no response from Monkey King to try to keep himself alive, or Demon alive.
Oh, poor Dubu. All of a sudden, just can't seem to catch a break here, though. As I say that, is going to be able to leap away. VG Gaming not able to corral that Monkey King in time.
Very close, though. They got the vision, they lost the vision, and then he leaps to safety. But yeah, the fact that you kill both supports right at the start of the fight changes a lot. And all of a sudden, the pressure for DC is feeling a little bit more difficult to execute. And that's mostly just because the disable durations on VG Gaming are finally in a good place. Tree's stun, his punch is going to do 2.2 seconds. And if you think back to how they lost that fight originally, I'm sitting here thinking, where did Tree get these 13 levels? He doesn't even have a Midas. And really, a lost team fight or two pumps this guy's levels up massively, which are now leading to kills. Just imagine if he had that gem back in that last fight, or a sentry in the right position, or if Abed played a little bit more carefully, this game could have just been over right now.
Yeah, so for DC, given that the fights are not going particularly well, I guess, my question is, should they go to a plan B here? Would you like to see them just split pushing and dodging fights? Is it more about fight selection for you, or what's the game plan moving forward?
They're definitely always going to be good at split pushing with Prophet and the BOTs on Ember Spirit. So I think that's just something you fit in naturally. It gets you farm, it forces your opponents to react, especially with how few towers they have right now. Split pushing will be an aspect, and Roche control is really the big next objective, because they can easily still win this game. By all means, they still have 3 of the top 4 net worths in the game, so don't let their opponents get Roche for free. Maybe show up and fight this if possible, but 27 seconds left for the Rock.
All right, Operation Let's Get Mama Dusa and Aegis potentially underway here, as has freed up a slot. Freeze ready to grab this, and Dubu maybe looking to be cute, but his tree gets eaten down with the monkey. Is the call. Will Abed even try for heroics here in the pit? He gets, well, actually, no, sorry, Demon getting swapped into the bash. Follow-up stun could be coming through momentarily from Aggressive. Is going to end up going down. Aegis secured by Freeze. Roche as well. They get the credit there for the kill, and now they just strut away. So Aegis on the Lady Dusa. And meanwhile, Bulba doing a bit of split pushing, takes this tier 3 bottom down about halfway, but give you up half your tower's HP for an Aegis, 2 kills, and the Roche gold. Seems good for VG Gaming.
Not a good thing at all, but taking the tower to half, that gives me some hope at least for DC. The tree armor is going to heal it back up though, so can he actually split push slowly while dealing with tree armor? That's a harder question. So
that's a good point. Like that, and maybe that is an argument for not trying to just rely on split push to take this one.
Yeah, definitely agree with that. So almost pretty much every single fight leads one way. Somebody on VGJ gets the vision. Oh, he's in trouble here.
Gets rooted. Abed trapped out. Now throwing the remnant, but not going to make it away. The physical damage simply too much here. Is Aggressive hitting for nearly 250 a pop, not even mentioning all the minus armor this team can bring to bear. So a big pick is going to allow them to shove these lanes out if they so choose. And we'll see Freeze make the rotation bottom now. Butterfly coming, and There is a decent amount of magic damage. It's not like all in on physical versus freeze, but this Dusa is just not feeling very killable right now. You've got swap, you've got the Abaddon shields, the armor, not to mention if you fight into the Dusa, you're fighting into the egg potentially, Kevin. And on top of that, you mentioned Mana Burn. We're not really seeing anything yet. Just for now, the Manta being picked up on the Spectre, but still no Diffusal.
He actually did just finish it. Diffusal Blade just finished it. It must have been on the courier when you checked. So Diffusal Blade's ready. He's got the Manta style, but that basically means they can kill Dusa if she's by herself or way out of position. And that's what it's going to come down to. Kill the other opponents, the other enemies first, then kill Dusa. Those are the circumstances that they're looking for. But the last couple engagements have been all Monkey King getting killed first or Warlock getting killed first, so VG Gaming abusing their invis very well.
Boba might get punished here. Fenrir was waiting. Aggressive coming in now. He's going to drop the Wave of Terror, but reinforcements on their way. They get the stun. They should be able to get the kill, but Abed looks to turn it. He comes in, dropping the chains, and then getting the hell away. Has to be very scared of that physical damage. You saw how quickly he dropped last fight, so he doesn't even try to finish off the tree.
Yeah, Prophet getting killed quite easy. If you have detection or a gem or something like that, and you don't have a blink or a force or something that gets you out of danger instantly, and they can't catch up, then that's always going to be a big threat when you're playing Prophet. So.
And that is what I think that's what I like about the way VG Gaming are playing this, is they have like, the itemization of the blink on tree, the Shadow Blade on Venge. It makes it kind of scary to split push when these heroes can just ambush you out of nowhere. They don't. You mentioned, I think, very true. They don't look mobile on paper, but the item selection is giving them that threat of gank that discourages split push.
Yeah, the Shadow Blade was ingenious just for that reason alone. And a couple teamfight wins, they get a blink on tree. No Midas. Go for an action item, and I'm happy to see it. A little too many Midases being built right now.
But you're not a fan of like 9 Midases in one game.
Like 5, whatever. But when you do it 9 or 10, there's some heroes in there that don't need it, in my opinion. Sentry goes down though. Fenrir spotting out the next team fight. He's got 2 points in overgrowth if he can catch these guys.
Could be a huge grab to get things underway. Mason, having already used the Manta, could be in danger here. He's going to get stunned, then slowed down by the Leech Seed. Still waiting for reinforcements to arrive. Swooping in deeper, dropping the egg. The overgrowth's there. Great combination. Going now for the stun, but able to haunt away to the other side of the fight. Mason looks to reset, and it looks like they may have bitten off more than they could chew. Even RTK coming in, getting healed up by the Sunray, but FY so low. Boba brings him down. Now RTK, the ult's about to end. The pain might be beginning momentarily as he gets chewed up by the Mana Burn. Quickly falling, now aggressive. On to the next one, they say. Dusa looking to salvage the fight. They have to commit the Stone Gaze. They don't have a whole lot else just yet. They get the bash on Abed. Can they get the follow-up, though? Abed takes the tree down. Freeze, extremely tanky and painful, but doesn't really have much to work with here as Abed will get silent, sprouted now. Boba trying to engage onto him, almost dies in the process, ends up living, kiting away. Great plays by Boba, now looking for Freeze, looking for the team wipe. Can they finish him off? He's got the Aegis. They probably have to kill him twice as he will end up dropping. Yeah, Aegis not going to expire just yet. So round 2, here we go. Nobody in sight. Not going to be easy here for Freeze as they continue to pound away at him. Freeze going for the TP out. No! So close, but so far.
That was such a good decision to TP. I thought there was no way he gets out of that, but they are limited on disables and just barely they get the kill. I can't even believe DC won that fight. It looks so bad for them at the start, the egg right on top of those guys, but just shows how big of a threat Haunt is at this point. Every attack from the illusion drains tons of mana, does tons of damage.
I mean, it's a great combo, but Dusa wasn't there the entire fight until after that was over, so... You know, is it worth it to commit the overgrowth just to set up egg when it means Dusa's not getting to hit anyone during that time? I guess that's really the concern for Vici, is they seem in those larger team fights very reliant on the Dusa to be there, and she is not the most mobile hero as RTK will get caught here, time being in the middle lane. Do you see the Silver Edge pick up on Boba, so has to be careful not to get killed off without the borrow time activation. Boba working on him a little bit. They chase on the Demon. They will bring him down. Now the power play potentially. Borrow time from RTK. Duber running right into the meat grinder and flying right back to the well. He'll be picked off. Now the Spectre could be next. Boba tries to turn it. Gets off the silence. Can't quite follow it up though. They're going to chew through Boba. Finish him off. RTK will get the kill, but this leaves Mason free to run. Rough shot over VG Gaming. 4 dead. Might be 5 as still the Dusa waits for her respawn. The big punish. DC right back into it.
Once again, Spectre looking like a hero that Venge just can't stop unless they start on the Spectre. It's pretty much the only way. And VG Gaming got so much tempo back in this game, but these last 2 fights have them just reading the game a little bit incorrectly here. I mean, especially in that fight 2 fights ago, it's all about the global. So their engagement here, they put a lot of damage into Bad and never once triggered his ultimate, though. I think that made a huge difference for VG Gaming's advantage, but maybe made them overconfident as well.
Yeah, they commit a lot here to kill off Demon, but remember, they're fighting without Dusa for 40 seconds, so, you know, even after they get that initial kill, borrow time eventually expires, they just kind of wait it out, kite, and then Mason comes rushing back in. He knows that there's not a whole lot to deal with him with the Dusa out of the picture, and is able to take advantage.
A lot of that actually was a tree getting overeager. I think he jumped straight onto the Spectre, and luckily for him, the Ember was nearby, guarantees the disable that gives you the vision. And that's very simple for Mason to just say, oh, this is an easy kill. I just attack this guy 5 times, he goes down. Tree just reading the team fight slightly wrong. He has to realize the threat that poses from DC's cores. Ember Spirit plus the Spectre together can kill so many people. And if they make that mistake, Prophet's going to TP in the back line. Maybe other heroes will re-engage as well.
So we are going to see Freeze call an audible as he transitions into an MKB, had the butterfly in the quick buy earlier, but decides he needs the True Strike to deal with that Radiance mischance and just a little more damage perhaps for the team.
It won't be too bad. It does magic when it procs, so considering how much magic resistance is on DC's side, I think it's all right. It'll be good against Ember Spirit 2 break Flame Guard, but like you said, it's really all about hitting the target. It's way more important than his evasion right now, because he's not the target, right? They're going to go on his teammates, kill all the teammates, then deal with the Dusa. So this is a rare game, I think, where Dusa definitely needs to prioritize damage more.
All right. VG Gaming trying to stay on target here, as this is an elimination match. And in fact, all are from this point forward at the Kiev Major. They are forced into a much more defensive posture, and you can really see it just if you just kind of ignore the middle of your screen, just look at the minimap, the way VG are moving. Always 5 close together in the jungle, very afraid at this point with quite limited vision and with an extremely mobile DC lineup to strike out on their own, whereas DC still pretty confident, farming multiple lanes, moving around freely on his own. Dubu has been scouting out, and now DC are going to converge here, looking to take down this tier 2 top, second to last outer tower for Vici, now under siege.
It's been kind of bad time for the fight to start. Boba did actually trap himself in the trees here. Tries to sprout himself out, does not work actually.
Well, he is going to have teleport soon if he wants to commit it, just to get out of this spot. But all of a sudden, it's a dangerous location as Fenrir coming in. I think actually hunting for the Monkey King there.
It was really smart by Medusa. She grabbed an illusion rune, sent them to the top lane to cut waves. These last so much longer than Manta illusions, so it made that pretty straightforward. But considering that Bulba was in the wrong place already, I think DC did the right thing. Just push a little bit, but play it safe. Roche is up soon, though. That's going to be the next engagement, and that's what the teams need to aim for. So VG Gaming is forced to be 5 at most of these moments. DC is not, so I think it's going to be a little up to VG Gaming to take the more forced engagement.
And I like the discipline from Vici, as we do see RTK getting clipped by the scan here, but Roche actually not up yet. Because that's where Vici are likely to get their team fight off, is when you fight them at the tower. So playing a little, as well as near the shrine. So playing a little more patiently, waiting for a better opportunity. Have to see if Vici can force them to the pit, or if DC will be able to keep them away from it, courtesy of the split push.
It was really good ward vision down for Vici Gaming right now. Well, that said, all they have to do is press Haunt, and DC sees everybody on the enemy team. So maybe this will be all right for them for now, but they've got to keep an eye on the Roche pit. It's up. They just can't let him snake it.
I have Scotty.
I like this choice. You a fan of this item, or do you usually prefer Heart first?
I like Scotty. I think it ensures that, like Phoenix dives away, you're still going to easily be able to run him down and catch him quite quickly.
Yeah.
A little bit better balance of damage and survivability. So I think it's always a solid pickup on Spectre.
Yeah, me too. I really like it in combo with the Spectral Dagger cooldown perk, because normally you throw so many daggers out, you run out of mana fast. So it's a place where Scotty mana on an agility hero actually pays off, where it normally is kind of just wasted. So that slow plus always dagger being there, I think it'll be really useful this game. Just got to be careful not to die.
Well, speaking of dying, we might see that mid soon as Boba comes in. He does get the Silver Edge, combines it with the Silence onto RTK. Now the Remnant in. Can they kill him off in time? They do, right before he's able to get the borrowed time up. He falls, and now onto Freeze. Stonegaze already committed. He's being isolated here, but healed up from behind by the Phoenix. Has to drop the egg. They look to retreat as they fight in the Wukong's command. Dubu doing work, but gets punished for it. Will end up going down. So low, Fenrir is trying to stay alive, working on Op, but they're going to get the stun. They do get the kill. They went right into the massive team fight, and they do end up getting punished a little bit there in the end, as now Warlock ult on cooldown. Haunt on cooldown. Roche is up, and I believe we're going to see VG Gaming head right towards it.
That was an amazing play by Fenrir there. Just looking like he's an easy kill. Ember was out of remnants, but he just turned and fought him with the Solar Crest, and Ember just kept missing. He doesn't have the best right click right now due to his kind of weird items, but ultimately Ember going down. So DC losing a fight. That looked really good for them, but with the Abaddon kill right at the start, looks so great.
And RTK did have to buy back, but that's like such a key situation to buy back is you're running this, really this 4 protect 1 Medusa. Like, yeah, Venture does decent damage with the AC pickup, but really is not going to be the main carry in these fights. And with this freeze, actually going to be the one given the cheese at this stage. So they give him the cheese. They have the Aegis and RTK. Pretty much ensures that they can't be cute and just snipe him like we saw last fight with the Silver Edge into the silence. So guaranteed a bad and borrow time in a team fight.
Yeah, may just focus them on killing somebody else instead. They could just silence the Abaddon, go on somebody else, because silence does prevent you from popping your borrowed time. Part of the reason that interaction works. And for that, Abaddon is going to queue up a Lotus Orb next to remove that problem. But he's got a lot of gold to go, and DC will have their ultimates pretty soon here. 58 seconds left for the Golem. And I don't even think they necessarily need that to win some fights.
Only game 1 here is Digital Chaos and VG Gaming J duke it out. DC, still actually both teams yet to threaten a tier 3, really. That bottom tower that was pressured earlier, right back to full health. So it doesn't feel like casual split push is going to work. Maybe you can rat it out, but you're really going to have to commit more than just a Prophet hitting a tower a few times and some triats. You'll have to stick around, and that's where VG Gaming could punish with the Shadow Blade, the Blink Dagger, and Tree. As VG Gaming, the Siege Engine starts to roll down the mid lane. They have Aegis, they have Cheese. The split push isn't very quick from DC. Top lane, still at least one more wave, potentially 2 waves before they're going to get to the tier 3. They're kind of hesitant to commit to this. The Spectre just sort of thinking about it, while Vici, no hesitation, right onto the tower. They're looking to break the base.
So the waves are being cut, but they've got to kill the creep waves, and they got to buy some time here, because it takes a while for the backdoor to actually set in.
Freeze is not really looking to give them that time. He says, stay right where you are. I'm coming for the structures, Dubu. Sticking around. And remember, they can trade structural damage here because they have the tree. As long as they don't give anything up, will likely be a win for them. Taking down the tower, can work on the range racks, and that is guaranteed damage that you're not going to get back.
This is good movement there by Vici. So Shrines dropping is going to be bad for DC, but not the end of the world. It would be much worse on the opposite way around. But not a great sign for DC here. You got to take some fights that they actually win, because that's really been their problem. They had such a good early tempo, but every fight since then has felt really hard.
So what is the key to winning a team fight or any kind of engagement for DC, Kevin? Like, what do they need to do to find those good team fights?
I feel like VG Gaming is initiating most of the time. I mean, maybe that's part of the advantage that they have, is that they're always 5 in a lot of cases. So perhaps it's a vision-based thing, know where your opponents are so that you don't get engaged on, because very difficult to stop the tree from jumping on you instantly, obviously. But he's jumping on somebody, disabling, there's follow-up, there's more follow-up. I don't know, maybe start frontlining with Spectre, for example. Really tanky, has quite a bit of armor. Put that guy in the front, that way he can actually take some of the pressure off, because both Abed as well as Nature's Prophet can't really deal with that in the same way. And if they do get gone on first, those guys definitely get picked off in a lot of cases.
VG Gaming, no finesse required. They just 5-man death ball down towards the bottom lane. Group up, park Freeze and ROTK out in front, and get to work on buildings. Meanwhile, Pink's coming out as Dubu, I believe, got scouted here, dropping across the tree line. FY looking for that follow-up scout. They are going to lock onto him. They crack that tree down. They pull the king off his throne. They'll kill him, and now they can push towards high ground. No Monkey King buyback available, it looks like. So Monkey King out of the picture now. That means no Wukon's command, and he does have the Basher now. So pretty big deal to take him away for the next team fight.
This is tough for DC here. The lane may even run to the mid lane now. That'd be the place to hit. Kill melee barracks while the creeps are in the base. All the other waves are pushed out, but not bot lane. That should give them a little bit of time to take the racks, maybe enough.
Yeah, Freeze knocking on the front door now. Anybody home, he says. DC, they answer, but not a very confident response as they've already dropped the melee racks. They really have to get something out of this fight, but it's so tough to go on Freeze. Way out in front, being healed up by the Phoenix. They drop the rock. He's still basically at full health. The mono's quite decent as well as Mason tries to work on him. That ain't going to happen either. ROTK, borrowed time committed, but remember, has the Aegis, Freeze, has the cheese with the evasion of the butterfly. They just keep on hitting buildings. You can't get to these backliners because they're so damn far back. Still slash away at the Dusa. Still has the cheese available. RTK with the Aegis as well. And now the combo, the turnaround, dropping first the Triad ultimate, then the egg, kaboom! Finds 3, looking for more. They jump deeper, looking for the follow-up amazing, and they bring him down. They will up-ed, looking for the turnaround. He commits pretty heavily into this fight, but still, Freeze alive through it all, even going aggro onto Bulba, wants to bring the Nature's Prophet down. Can he do it? It's Freeze against the world. So tanky, so difficult to kill. Dubu in danger of dropping here. He's going to commit for it. He gets punished. Demon almost dead as well. Finally, they slay the beast, but the damage done as the melee Rex has fallen. The range Rex, one attack away from dropping. All 4 have buyback if required, and some might be because Bulba is threatening the top lane.
That team fight coordination was insane. 2 buybacks, and DC loses by about 700 gold. Not much, but if the next fight goes like that, the game ends basically. That's a dead Ember Spirit, that's a dead Nature's Prophet. So they still lost melee barracks on top of that. Range barracks also very low, and they still haven't been able to take a tier 3 of their opponents yet.
Whew. Freeze going back for the Hurricane Pike now, so pretty close to being maxed out here as far as items go. Could maybe consider trading something out, but effectively, Freeze is as big as he's going to get.
There was an engagement here. Once the Supernova came in with the Overgrowth, man, that looked one-sided. I was wondering why the egg took no damage. It was all the Overgrowth. The perfect coordination there when DC was grouped as 3.
You can see Mason just has to run pretty early in the fight. You really want Spectre to be going in. Freeze just so incredibly difficult to bring down now that he has the butterfly, and no MKB here on anyone. I guess Bulba has the Bloodthorn, so potentially you get the True Strike if he's able to use it at the right time, and the Manta's on cooldown, but not really a very killable Dusa until the team fight's basically over.
Yeah, exactly. Phoenix does have Aghanim Scepter, by the way. He opted for the 150 GPM perk over the Fire Spirit's DPS, and he looks real rich right now. I mean, he's only 3,000 gold behind Ember Spirit, who's middle of the pack right now, by the way. I'm
starting to have slight flashbacks to that Disruptor game where FY got Ags and Refresher Orb. He has queued up the Refresher in the quick buy. Can you imagine a double Ag, a double Shiva's Guard, and with the Aghanim Scepter as well, potential here to bring that Dusa back for a second life.
Yeah, and he also refreshes the basic cooldowns. I don't think that matters this game, but fun fact.
The Sunray is pretty. The Sunray is pretty big
but
potential here.
The ally you bring in with your egg.
Oh, you mean the eggs? Yeah, yeah.
They could be 2 snakes in 10 seconds, dude.
Yeah.
Never know.
Good luck killing that Dusa once, let alone twice. Now that said, if they do it, Freeze already used his buyback, so he'll be out of the picture for a long time. I believe RTKs is almost cooled down by now. As they are going to make their move, they find Dubu top, Dubu down, and no buyback for him, out for 70. So DC may have to wrap up the split push. I guess good news is this top lane's pretty far in. Mid lane, not really the lane that Vici wants to be focusing on, so may not transition into a full tower threat off of that.
DC still has to be so careful with their split push, though. Because of the tree and the other disables and things like that, it's already been just difficult for Bulba to split push, for Ember Spirit to split push. Even Monkey King having some trouble here. But he does have Shadowblade now. I don't know if they've gotten another gem yet. They have not. No gem on VGJ right now. But they're definitely in the lead right now. It's looking pretty good. They've also got some Lotus Orbs picked up, so the silence is going to mean less. Abaddon can pretty much get his ultimate off every time now.
Yeah, not to mention the next Rosh is coming, and potentially you can just grab the Aegis, get rid of the Midas, which has essentially served the majority of its purpose at this point.
He's got a backpack for that, right? Let it recharge a little bit slower.
Yeah.
I think the big item we're waiting on is maybe something new for Abed. I mean, he got his Octarine Shivas really fast with the Maelstrom, but it's been a while since we saw a new damage item. He's got a great build for keeping your opponents not moving and taking magic damage, but actually killing heroes, he's been having some trouble there.
And it's really not a single target Ember build at all. And the way the game's developed, it feels like you need to be able to kill a single target. It's really all about killing Freeze. or maybe a backliner before they get off a key ultimate.
That's actually the big part. One really big advantage of Ember is, Mason's in a bad spot right now.
Mason out far, and he gets swapped. Looking for the dodge stun, but he dodges it with the Manta. Big plays from Mason on the big stage, but he gets bashed. Focused, killed off regardless. He had best fingers, but VG had the numbers. Now the rock getting dropped. They bite in the Wukong's command. They stand their ground, still have to borrow time, and they engage forward, dropping the egg. Now potentially the retreat is DC. The Golem standing strong. Looks like they will force them on their heels. The egg is going to drop. Free still alive, is able to Manta his way out of the sprout, and then the turn. There's the ultimate coming in. 1, 2, 3, looking to bring him down in a hurry. Finds not only the Spectre, the Prophet, but now looking for the Monkey as well. Abed on the run. He's low. He's not dead yet. Trying to chip him down bit by bit, inch by inch. Freeze does it. Gets the triple. Nails DC. And now the push down mid potentially to begin, though they are quite low and may want to heal up first.
Oh, they call it.
GG.
That's it. Man, VG Gaming held on to such pressure from DC, winning teamfight after teamfight after the 30-minute mark. And it wasn't just because of the heroes they picked, man. That execution was actually insane.
Especially the later fights. Like I think probably for me the crispest fight was that one at the Dire Tier 3 mid where they got, what was it, like a 4-hero overgrowth combined with the egg. They held those ultimates for a while. The Dusa was patient with the cheese usage, and then they engage. They make sure they take the racks first before they go for the team fight. So even if they lose that fight, they're still already up a lane of racks. They had buybacks as well, so it wasn't a rushed push by any means. It was like the perfect time, and then on top of that, the perfect execution.
Yeah, I think that's one of the best team fight tree games I've seen in a super long time. Not too surprising. I mean, Fenrir is a very good player, but Overgrowth seemed like a 5-second stun that game. The utility that it had was exactly what they needed to deal with DC's lineup, and DC just fell flat towards the end of the game. They got very close in so many of the fights as well, but in that last one particularly, VG Gaming disengaged, got out of the upheaval, got out of the Monkey King ultimate, all of the important stuff that basically was their bread and butter team fight.
Well, Boba in a hurry to get off the stage and get ready for game 2. Kind of a disappointing way to lose for DC, where they had a strong start, weren't able to finish. If you had to pick one big thing for DC to work on, what would it be?
I felt like there was a lot of deaths coming from Monkey King and the supports, and maybe slightly different itemization, but not sure.
All right.
It was tough.
Well, for more detailed breakdown, let's go back to Paul and the rest of the boys.
Yes, thank you very much, LD. We'll head back there for game number 2, of course, to our commentary team in the Palace of Arts. It is a 1-0 lead, but which way round did it go? Who knew all the way through that DC weren't going to pull it off? At times it looked like they were, at times it looked like they weren't, then it looked like they were, and then they didn't. That's basically the story. But to break it down with more expertise, we've got 3 experts alongside us as well. Teven, Malini, and God's all back with us. We'll start with you, Ben. What do you say after a game like that? Because it felt like DC got themselves back into a game they shouldn't have been winning, and then they kind of lost their way again.
I thought they were going to win with the Spectre just having incredibly high net worth and was free farming for the majority of the game, but then Medusa finally came to the fights and started destroying people, and their team fight synergy was incredibly great and much stronger than DC's team fight.
That's the key point. Medusa started coming to the fights. There was 3 key fights, 3 big, like, full-on team fights that were 4v5, no Medusa. First at, like, that bottom bounty rune. Medusa's off top. Then there was another one at mid-area. And then there was one where Medusa was dead and the team went in. Like, they kept trying to fight without him.
We're going to take a look at one. It's around about 30 minutes. It's a Roche fight that I think VG started, actually. And, Ben, you picked out a few highlights for us to go through. We'll take a look at this first one. As I said, it's around about 30 minutes at the Roche pit.
Yeah, so as you can see, the Monkey King immediately dies at the start of the fight. And this happened actually consistently throughout the game, where VGJ just seemed very well in tune about how to deal with the Monkey King. Cut down a tree, they like scouted him with like the Shivas and the Phoenix later with a dive, and Monkey King died a lot. Purge mentioned it, like there was just too many deaths coming up from DC. When you don't have a strong team fight, you got to keep up the net worth on your supports to try and power through with items.
Yeah, you also mentioned the Medusa going missing and not always. This is another example of it right here.
Yeah, this is tail end of the fight. After, if you look at the scoreboard, 4 of the heroes were already dead. Phoenix at the respawn talent, so he's already up. But then Medusa finally comes to the fight, has Aegis, but you're isolated. She almost gets a TP out here, but will not end up surviving.
Yeah. I've got one more after this one. Timon, you had something to say?
Yeah, it felt like DC's early game was quite solid. They understood how to do anything, but going into the mid game, it just felt like they just weren't a team anymore. They weren't sure as to how to play around their lineup and what to do from there. Like I spoke about before the game started, this is this team that wants to be able to go together and take objectives and such. But if the snowball doesn't amount to anything, it just becomes way too hard for them to have good decision making in the mid-late game.
And look how well the Medusa is posted up in this fight, just up in the front. 2 unkillable heroes in front. We talked about how ROTK, he even managed to die on the Abba before popping his ult due to the excellent Silver Edge, but this fight was certainly not one of them, and these 2 tanky heroes just stand in the front, get a free rack without really using any spells. And they had to use pretty much all their buybacks, and they still lost their racks.
Yep. I feel like the VG Gaming supports this game played godly. Both Trian and Phoenix did so much in team fights. The Trian was hitting amazing overgrowths and constantly finding and initiating with this first item, Blink Dagger. We're kind of talking about like should go Midas, go Blink, but Media gets the Blink. He almost kills the Ember with a Blink Bash. He's constantly finding the Monkey King. The synergy in the team fight was there. The Sunray just healed and did so much damage as well. I feel like FY and Fenrir were the heroes this game.
Aggressive also had really good swaps too. And his Shadow Blade reveal to kill Ember, I think that kept the Ember from like spiraling out of control. He was controlled very well because they were super light on Disable. Like how are they going to be able to control this Ember? But the Shadow Blade was a pretty nice solution.
MVP for the game? Who would you single out?
I'll go first. I thought that Treant played phenomenally. They didn't have any disables, but he was everywhere and the right place at the right time, catching people with his disable. I really didn't think they could kill anyone, but apparently you can if you're Fenrir as a Treant.
Yeah.
With no disables on your lineup. So, and his team fight contributions were perfect too. Their timings were in sync. Everything was amazing.
Okay, so we're going to give it to Fenrir?
Yeah.
Okay, Fenrir MVP. It should be said as well that FY and Fenrir as a pair, we've talked about them as a legendary pair already. It's really the first time we've seen this Trident Phoenix combination work because it's been tried by other teams, particularly Chinese teams. IG, notably, in the group stages, tried this a couple of times. It didn't look very good with them playing. And this is another typical example, Gods, of a team where the Chinese teams do talk a lot. They do swap tactics with each other a lot and talk about what might be good and what might be good. It's another example of a team taking it from someone else and actually doing it better.
Yeah, I think they had this idea that DC were going to 5-man and fight them a bit more. DC's not really a team who will resort to like split push, even though they pick the Nature's Prophet Bowl, but typically wants to join fights. And DC were running at them, trying to fight with the Haunt, and well, VGJ said, we'll one-up you. We'll just have better team fight. We'll have this Treant, Phoenix, Medusa that you can't beat it.
I guess the biggest thing we should say about the combination is that they have a Spectre and Ember Spirit as cores. Neither of these heroes want to really right-click an egg in the middle of a fight. And then on top of that, if you add a Treant who's already going to like mitigate whatever right-clicks you do have, this egg is going to come off every time. I don't think they ever even killed an egg once it became level 2.
I think that's an important point because I think IG actually took a lot of team fights when Phoenix was still level 1, and it just died all the time. And I thought they were in trouble because they were just waiting for the Spectre to get bigger and bigger, but they actually waited until Phoenix Eggs was level 2, and it's a big difference, 5 and 8 hits.
Right.
And the egg just stayed alive the whole entire time.
It was very patient as well, wasn't it, from Fenrir, with the way that he played that. Whereas other Phoenix players tend to want to just get the egg out there. Fenrir seemed to hold back sometimes when it looked like when it looked like he should do it. Sometimes he didn't, and it was actually the right call every time.
Right.
Towards the end of the game, he got the Ags too, like that last big fight. He gets the Venge and the Ags Supernova as well, so it's help out a teammate, add a duration.
And that's what dictates the good 4-position supports from just like any other 4-position supports. They understanding at what point in the fight to cast their spells. Like most amazing 4-position supports that we know, they take their time. They always look at the entire fight and then feel like only when it's good for the team or themselves to go in, they will do it. Very important.
Where did it go wrong for DC then?
I think they rushed picking Abeds here or there. I was surprised they picked it up 4th when they had the last pick of the draft. Like saving Bulbous here for last seemed a bit odd. I mean, with that said, Abed played a pretty great game, but I think they could have maybe put him in a better position with like a last pick. He instantly gets counterpicked by Medusa. Had a bit of a rough lane stage, although he still farmed her. I feel like they didn't need to pick his hero as hastily as they did, though.
And in terms of, do you feel like they could have won that game? Because there were points, weren't there, where they had the advantage and looked like they could take the game.
I think once Abba and Medusa reach that critical mass, then it's really, really difficult to do so. But at the same time, Medusa's one of the heroes that, like, it's impossible to kill her out of Shrine. So if they do decide to push high ground, it would have just been disastrous. So what exactly was their timing to win, I feel?
They definitely could have won this game, but they had to, like, play much different. What it felt like was Mason wasn't really comfortable on playing the Spectre. That's what I thought. Like, he spent a lot of time farming, not really trying to get his team to do things together so he can haunt in and get these picks, especially when, like, VGJ used their buyback or something like that.
Or when ultis are down. Like, this is a very cooldown dependent lineup. You don't have Stonegaze Egg. You want to be pushing and fighting.
DC also, but that's one of the weaknesses of, like, DC's lineup for them. They like to play with the low cooldowns. They like to constantly keep pressuring the enemy. They like to see when the enemy's ults are down and try to pressure them. But in this game, they themselves had the big cooldown with the Haunt. So they were always trying to see, like, okay, let's wait for Haunt, guys. But when Haunt came up, they didn't really understand where to be on the map in order to get the teamfight that they want, since it's not really the playstyle that they typically play.
We pulled out Freeze for a bit of criticism beforehand, saying that he didn't have necessarily the deepest pool, very experienced, but he turned up gods, didn't he?
I'd say yes, to the extent like he played pretty well. I don't think he was either his team weren't on the same page as him, or he wasn't on the same page as his team in the early game when he was missing from those fights. Like his scoreline at the end, 9-11, looks great. But I think if you look at the early game fights where VGJ struggled, it was always like, well, where's Freeze? Where's Medusa? If Medusa's here, they're winning this fight. And that's always a team call. You don't know whether you can't just blame the player for that. It's hard to know exactly who's saying to fight, whether or not if Freeze is already TP top. We saw a few times VGJ just shouldn't be fighting. So individually, I think he did play well in terms of how he worked with the team. I think there's still room for improvement, though.
Okay. Was it convincing enough a performance that you feel that VGJ can go on and take this 2-0?
I don't think so if ROTK is given a different hero. I think because of Abba, there's so much room for... Like, he got caught out. He died a couple of times. He didn't have the best laning phase. Like, he needed Radiance to actually do something, which I don't particularly like from some Abba players. Like, you should be able to, like, pressure lanes and die minimally and keep a low death count, but he just seemed, like, off the map a lot, which it didn't seem to play well, and I think it put them further behind than they needed to. So I think their drafts are consistently just really strong in teamfight, though. So I think DC need to match that, and if VGJ have worse teamfight, I think they'll almost definitely lose.
Do you think they'll take the Abra away?
Ideally, they have first pick. I think they ban Omni, take Abba. That's I think the very, very first step that they need
or just
to
ban both. If you don't want to play Abba, I think ban it, because RTK is a player who struggles a lot in the laning stage. I think it's his weakest point as a player. He shines elsewhere, like leading the team. Once he has items, he can have a big impact, but as kind of Ben's saying, like you put him on a different hero. These are not those other heroes offlaners don't really recover or farm that well. So
I think between both these teams, it's going to come down to just the draft. It's like DC, they play phenomenally only when they can get the draft that they want. And in this game, although they had a strategy, didn't feel it fit them. And as for VGJ, they got F1 and Fenrir on this teamfight supporters, and then they got the 3 cores that are pretty much gonna complement that. And VGJ, they're in their comfort zone. This is what they want. They want ROTK to play the Abba that can't die. Just run in there for his team, provide vision, get that big team fight. DC, not so much.
Okay. We'll look forward to our second draft very shortly. Of course, plans off having a break, and we'll be getting ourselves ready to come back for the second draft. Until then, we've got some more social media questions from your questions that you've posted on the Facebook post, and we'll take another one right now and quiz our stars here on the panel. Is Monkey King in a good spot now with such a low win rate? We've sort of covered that a little bit, Gods, haven't we, already? But it's hard, isn't it? Because it still seems quite effective when you watch it play.
Yeah, it's being highly prioritized. I think the big thing is less that the nerfs have made him weaker, but more that teams have played against him a lot now. And that's where I think it was highlighted in that last game. Teams are getting very good at hunting for him, understanding where he moves, where he can be positioned. They're constantly checking for him. Like we saw that really cool Baboka play where he gets the blind pull in the trees. I think it's just this understanding, like this is where he should be or is very likely going to be. So the more teams play and keep playing against him, he could have never been nerfed, but the hero's win rate was ultimately always going to go down because teams just get used to it.
Yeah, and likewise, players are figuring out not only how to play it, but how to draft against it as well.
And we can say it was also overly used, right?
Yes.
Some teams just picked it because they just didn't want the enemy to have it, even though maybe they weren't a really good team with the Monkey King.
Yeah, it's definitely dropped off in terms of win rate. Let's take a couple more questions while we wait for our draft to come in. Next one is this. Most annoying Ricky player in the pro scene?
Baboka.
Does Shay Nomad count in that? I don't know.
Pro scene, Paul.
He's kind of annoying as a Ricky. Yeah. Just play against him, that's all I say. He's bloody annoying. Anyway, pro players. So you think Baboka?
Baboka. Easily.
Baboka.
For me.
I guess so.
Yeah.
Baboka.
Who's the most annoying Ricky you've played against?
Ever?
Yeah.
I don't know. It's such a...
Because it should stick in your mind, shouldn't it, when you play like a really annoying Ricky? You're just kind of like, oh god, that's tainted me forever now. Every time I see a Weaver picked into a Ricky, I'm just like, oh
to
god.
play against, you know? If you don't want to play against Bounty, you don't want to play against Ricky, you don't want to play against Treant ever.
Right.
So anybody who plays those heroes are automatically annoying.
Right. So Owie's very annoying then?
Yeah, totally.
Anyone in particular?
Guy.
Yeah. Anyone in particular, Ben, that stands out for you other than Baboka that you've seen play?
I'm sure Pi would play pretty annoying.
I'm mostly thinking about his bounty. Like I'm thinking of all the players who snipe the most couriers. Those are the
MNT,
really annoying players. MNT, Pi, Baboka. The courier snipes. That's the most obnoxious bit. Is when your courier dies 2-3 times in a game.
I'm sure Demon would too if he played. If he played it.
Yeah.
Demon would just be super obnoxious.
Jimmy would be obnoxious with it?
Yeah. I remember he was Nature's Prophet against me one game. He was just the most annoying thing ever. He wasn't in my lane, and he just sent Trans to, like, watch the rune, and when I would get closer to him, he would just deny it in front of my face. I'd just be like, I hate you. And then he would just, like, TP, snipe courier, just TP, and I'm so annoying.
Yeah. Yeah, Baboka's definitely been annoying in terms of sniping courier. He's got 2 in the game earlier. I think that took it to 7, I think, out of 52.
That's really impressive.
Which is pretty crazy. There may have been another couple since then as well. There was one in the last series, which I think had a 4 MKB on it.
Oh, yeah.
It was like about 8
That was
Ks
GH.
worth.
GH killed
Yeah, it
the
was,
courier
yeah.
as a lion.
Yeah. So you've got to be really annoyed after that.
I mean, he died for it, but...
Yeah.
it was
Yeah, no,
well
I would
worth it
take
for
that
him.
though, wouldn't you?
Respawn timer.
Yeah. Respawn
Minus
timer for
30
an 8K.
anyways.
And we saw MNT also kill a courier in the mouse series.
Yep.
Yeah. That guy
couriers is what I'm
kills a
hearing.
lot of couriers.
We need more buffs on couriers. Courier lives matter, guys. Come on.
Yeah, the protest should start.
Couriers on the menu.
Players getting ready, as you can see in the booth. They are back. They are hopping into the lobby. Hopefully, we should get going in draft number 2. Just looking forward to it. Gods, what would you like DC to do here? Something a little bit different?
Yeah.
More to their
putting
play style?
Bulba back on like the team fight tempo heroes, something where he can go around, lead some ganks, and have. I mean, Abed was playing an Ember, but it felt like he was often the one starting the fights, initiating. He had to go in, lead the way. Spectre falls with the Haunt. I think put Bulba in that role, put Abed more in the farming role. We saw him play an amazing Shadow Fiend game. Going back to the group stage, I think he's going to shine more on maybe just a more farm-centric hero.
I think the Ember was actually pretty fine for him.
Okay.
It's just has more to do with actually Mason, in my opinion. With him playing a hero that can just rotate to a tower. Rotate to Bulba's lane, play as 4, let Abed do his thing, let him farm, let him join a team fight whenever he wishes to do so, instead of like him having to be the first one there. Because when you play with Spectre, you need the other 4 guys to go together, and the Spectre plays on his own, so he can haunt into the fight. Can't do that if you want Abed to also be farming at the same time. So let Mason play this Juggernaut or Lifestealer.
Play a lot of Weavers too.
Yeah, he does play a lot of Weavers.
Vengeful Spirit, anything that can combo with Boba and the other 2 supports.
DC have second pick again.